يا شباب قصف جديد يا شباب، قصف جديد مبنى هيئة الأركان خالص، قصف جديد يا شباب، قصف، خذونا بسرعة 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 بسرعة، قصف ثاني دمروه. نعم قصف هيئة الأركان بغارتين. نعم قصف بغارتين استهدفت هيئة الأركان بشكل مزدوج من اليمين ومن اليسار. شاهدنا قطع من المبنى تتطاير، حقيقة على ما يبدو أن المبنى قد تعرض لأضرار كبيرة جدا. يا شباب.
Wow, that guy seems very excited. He seems very excited, and I don't necessarily mean in a good way. That was Damascus being bombed. That was the Ministry of Defense and the Presidential Palace, apparently, both of which were hit in Israeli airstrikes. Israel, supposedly, we're going to get more confirmation on this, was responding to the attacks on the Druze community that Jelani's dogs were doing. If you remember, Jelani's dogs they want to create a caliphate. They want to create that caliphate. They've been killing Alawites, Christians, any particular religious sect that they don't necessarily like, that don't fit within their mantle of God's chosen. And so when they went to go after the Druze, you had the Druze freaking out in Israel, trying to push the Israeli government to take action. Well, the Israeli government is taking action, and it is bombing the hell out of Jelani's let's say, government. What's wild about this, if you think back, I think this was when Jelani first took office, when the jihadists, the ISIS, Al-Qaeda, alphabet soup name, terrorist animals took over. They went after various communities once before, and as a warning, Israel ends up bombing a building that was apparently across the street from where Jelani's office was. So this is more direct. This is more straightforward. This is more of an attack. Now, Laith is going to come on the show, and he's going to explain how this is beneficial to the government of HTS. And I got to be honest, I don't quite know. I mean, the fact of the matter is HTS was helped by Israel. That is what makes this so wild. Israel was helping ISIS to knock over the Assad government. Jelani and his dogs were benefiting from the assistance of Israel, whether it was medical or whether, for that matter, it was money. But they were benefiting from it. Jelani has done everything in his power to bend over backwards with his head between his legs, with his ass cheeks open like he was in a medical exam, and asking Israel, do what you will. And Israel was like, okay. And Israel has gone on bombing sprees, effectively destroying all of the military equipment that was in Damascus, or for the most part, anywhere near in Syria, and bombing Syria whenever Netanyahu had a feeling to do so. So all of these pleas to be associated with Israel, and for the most part, if not necessarily falling on dead ears, hasn't necessarily stopped Israel from bombing the hell out of Damascus. There's another one that I find super interesting. So this very attractive woman had the unfortunate position of being on air as this was taking place.
وزير الدفاع الاحتلال الإسرائيلي إسرائيل كاتس إن الجيش سيواصل مهاجمة قوات وزير.
This is why women shouldn't do the news. They don't have the tenor for it. You got to stand there and do the news. You got to stand there and do the news. You can't freak out when bombs are falling a few feet away from you. You got to stand there and finish your story. And yes, I am slightly teasing. This is best I can do in order to inject some humor to this. Fact of the matter is, this story is very bizarre to me. Many people, when Jelani's dogs was knocking over the Syrian government, were cheering this taking place. Cheering. They thought it was fantastic when Jelani and his animals went rummaging through Syria and overthrowing Assad. And people like me and people who I've had on the channel looked at that and say, this is a dark day. This is a dark day. The reason we said it was a dark day wasn't for the love of Assad per se. It was because what we understood was at the moment that ISIS, Al-Qaeda, whatever alphabet soup name you want to give it, took over, that it wasn't going to be this gay-friendly Al-Qaeda in the way that they were trying to present it in the West. We understood that they were going to go through and they were going to murder one minority after the next, after the next, after the next. We understood that they were going to go on a killing spree. And that's exactly what they did. They went on a killing spree and they went killing the ethnic minorities or religious minorities that are in that country. So it's a bit weird now that Israel is bombing them. And I got to be honest, I don't have a position, if that makes sense. I mean, no, I don't want Israel bombing anybody. By the same token, the people who were celebrating were the people who effectively took over. Jelani's speech is the wildest thing on earth. Keep in mind, many of the people that he used to overthrow the Syrian government were not Syrians. Chechens, Uyghurs. You have people from all over, all of these random places, all of these random terrorists that came together in order to help overthrow the Syrian government. And when he's given the speech, he's given the speech as if we Syrians. Who is we? Who is we? And considering that Jelani wasn't willing to fire a bullet in anger at Israel as they murdered, killed, starved the Palestinians, or for that matter, as they bombed their own territory, it's a bit rich that you're using the term we. The other interesting part of this is the United States. The United States removed the bounty that was on, what do they call him? Al-Shara now, but I'm still calling him Jelani. Removed the bounty, $10 million on his head, and pushed other countries to remove the sanctions because at this point the deal was done. You took decades trying to overthrow the Assad government. And now that you were able to overthrow the Assad government, it's like, all right, everything's good. And let's try to get that economy up and running because, people feel some kind of way about the economy being down. Let's get rid of the sanctions. Let's do blah, 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 blah. The deal was done. You've overthrown the government. And now you want to create some quote unquote normalization. Okay, how do you create normalization in a country that had all of these religious communities there together? I'm in Middle Asia for the next several months. Christians, Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, all of these groups are just right there together. They don't have bacon, which hurts. But all things being equal, all of these groups are just right here together, meaning Syria had all of those religious groups that were there together. And the biggest fear with Assad falling was exactly what happens, that all of those groups are in prize. My producer, when I worked at Sputnik, his family members were in Lebanon and Syria. And when the government fell, I hit him up and asked him, was his family members okay? And he said they're terrified. And considering what is happening and what took place, they had a right to be. They had a right to be. Many of the people who were celebrating for the very specific point of Assad falling and being able to turn Syria into a caliphate. Those same people didn't want to do anything about the fact that Israel was killing people in Lebanon or killing people in Syria or killing people in Gaza or killing people in the West Bank or at whatever other random place you want to say they were killing people. And now you couldn't bend over to kiss your ass far enough and they're bombing you again. Bombing you again. This is Marco Rubio. Laith is going to give far more context to this. I'm not even cutting this as a video. I'm just kind of pointing out what's taking place right now. This is Rubio asked about this because, again, the United States is trying to normalize ties with Syria and Israel and trying to bring them into the Abraham Shield Accords, whatever name they have for it now. And so it's kind of difficult to do that when one of the members of the Abraham Accords bombing another member or ideal potential member of the Abraham Accords. It's wild. I hit Kevork up because I was super curious on his take, just like I hit Laith up because I was super curious on his take. I didn't even know what to think about it. I sat there and watched it like, wow, that's fascinating. I could tell you the details. I could give you the news in the case of this is the flat fact thing that took place. But facts are for computers. Context is for human beings. And it's one thing to say these are the flat facts of things that are taking place. It's another thing to say this is what it means. Laith is going to be on at 8:30 to break down what it means. Because Laith is making the argument that this is not what it seems. Laith's argument is that for all intents and purposes, this is beneficial to the HTS government. And it would take him to explain it. This is Rubio. Listen to what Rubio says here.
Yeah, it's complicated. Obviously, these are historic, long-time rivalries between different groups in the south west of Syria, Bedouins, the Druze community, and it led to an unfortunate situation and a misunderstanding, it looks like, between the Israeli side and the Syrian side. So we've been engaged with them all morning long and all night long with both sides, and we think we're on our way towards a real de-escalation and then hopefully get back on track in helping Syria build a country and arriving at a situation there in the Middle East is far more stable. So in the next few hours, we hope to see some real progress to end what you've been seeing over the last couple hours.
What do you say? It's complicated. We've been talking to both groups. What Rubio didn't say is that the dogs of Jelani have gone on a murder spree and it's been, after killing Alawites, Christians, have now moved to murdering and killing Druze. And that there is a large Druze community, or at the very least an association between Druze and Israelis, where the Israelis didn't like them doing it. He could have pointed out that they were ethnically cleansing Syria. He did not point out that they were ethnically cleansing Syria. One last point. I had a question on whether or not they were even going to let Jelani stay in power. Whether or not the entire point of having the terrorists take over Syria, a country, was to create a pretext for Israel to say, well, we don't feel safe. And in the context of saying we don't feel safe, to be able to push further and further into Syria, which is what Israel has been doing, by the way. And again, without Jelani firing a shot in anger. So we will see. We'll have a conversation with Laith at 8:30. Definitely stay here for that. That should be super interesting. But my man is here. Man himself, Carl Zha. How you doing, Carl? You doing okay this morning? Well, it's not this morning for you. It's evening for us. You doing all right?
I'm doing all right. I'm my babysitter just left at the last minute, so I'm gonna do double duty right now.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Ignore
this. Your kid, by the way.
Yeah, that's my kid. That's my 1-year-old.
Oh, yeah. So you're a new dad.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah. I have another 4-year-old, so he's watching TV right now. Yeah.
Okay, so you've done this before.
Yeah,
This is not new for you. It's like every
not my
sniffle.
Not my first time rodeo. Yeah.
Fair enough. You know, it's funny. I thought my ex-wife, when we got dogs, so we had 2 dogs, that I thought that was her way of trying to kind of like, hey, a kid is not as you know, it can't be much worse. That's like her.
Oh, you can. Oh, you can. You can. I have 3 dogs. Trust me.
Do
that's
you?
what I thought too. That's what I thought. Oh yeah, kids just like dogs. No, much more investment.
Is it?
Dogs much easier. Dogs much easier.
But see, if you don't know, right? If you don't have any experience,
know.
then they can kind of make that argument to you. You just don't know. You're just completely unaware. And it's like, damn it, they got me. Oh, that's funny. Just as the audience will know, Carl Zha, he's host of Silk and Steel podcast, focused on China and surrounding regions and their history, culture, and politics. You can follow Carl on Twitter at Carl Zha. Follow his podcast on Twitter at Steel Silk In, and subscribe and support the podcast on patreon.com, Silk and Steel. Carl, there is, I don't know if you've ever read, what is it? Cixin Liu's 3-Body. That book.
I know about that book. Yeah.
Okay, that book, that series of books is breathtaking. That it is like a work of art, from my point of view, and from people who are suckers for science and that type of emancipatory science. China put something up. I think this was yesterday. Now, a lot of people may not notice, but China actually has a space station. That space station has been up there for years at this point, and they've been able to expand upon that space station. This is them sending up cargo to that space station. Look at that. That is breathtaking.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Like, it's not just, scientifically proficient. It's breathtaking to even look at. And I think Americans don't fully get how beneficial that is, not just in a technical science sense, but in an aspirational sense. I would like to point Americans to NASA. And when NASA was doing the space race and the moon landing and everything else, and the way people were looking up into space in this kind of emancipatory, science, like, oh my God, this is what I want to do when I grow up. This is what I want to be. This is what I want to work on. We have effectively gutted NASA. So our capability of doing stuff like that has been greatly diminished. It's so
we're relying on Elon Musk now. It's all Elon Musk now. And Elon Musk said, you know what? We don't need to go to the moon. We did that before. Let's just go straight to Mars. Who knows when that's going to happen. And another thing is the International Space Station, which is due to retire in a couple of years, which means in a few years, the Chinese space station is going to be the only space station in the game. And this is also due to United States banning space cooperation with China. So they specifically prohibited China from joining this International Space Station. And that is why China went ahead and built their own space station. And so, ironically, this International Space Station is due to retire in a couple of years, and Chinese space station will be the only game in town. And guess what? China invites all other countries' astronauts to work with them, but we have a law, a wolf. I think it's called Wolf's legislation or whatever. That Wolf's Act that specifically prohibits American astronaut from working with Chinese. So that means anybody can go to the Chinese space station except Americans, except for NASA. Yeah,
that's so pathetic. God, that's so pathetic. I hate that because I'm a sucker for Star Trek, and I kind of want us to go out into the cosmos together, not in these facts. Like, who owns the moon? That nonsense, right? Like, China goes and says, okay, this is my part of the moon. The US says this is our part of the moon, and you're fighting a war on the moon. It's like, okay, I don't want that. That's not what I want, right? That seems to be the most ridiculous thing ever. And yet, this seems to be where that stuff is going. That's so unfortunate.
Well, NASA is not going there. NASA is not going. NASA had the Artemis program to revisit the moon, another manned mission to the moon, and they were trying to beat the Chinese, and I think it was supposed to take place this year. Well, that didn't happen, and I don't think it's ever going to happen at this point. And China is scheduled to launch their manned mission to the moon in 2030. So just imagine the Copian. Then in a few years, you'll be to the moon. The Copian to the moon.
It's funny. On a positive, I look at it as human achievement. Either way, like, it's like just a human issue, like of being able to go to the moon or being able to go to Mars. By the same token, it sucks that America just dropped it. I mean, and I think what it is, back during the time we were going against the Soviets, we had competition with the Soviets. And so the thought was, we got to beat the Soviets to the moon. That's what we have to do. We have to beat the Soviets to the moon, meaning it became a military issue. And then when that stopped, it's like, okay, well, we're done. It's like, what do you mean we're done? Yeah, we're done. It was just a military thing. Oh, it sucks so bad, man. It sucks so bad. Oh, God. Sucks.
I mean, like the whole Artemis program, which is a second NASA mission to the moon, was actually scheduled to beat the Chinese. But and then Trump is not having that, and Elon Musk is not interested because he said, oh, moon, we did that before. Let's just try something different. Let's go to Mars. But it's a whole different ball game going to the Mars, because that it will take literally years to travel there and back. So who knows when that's going to happen.
If you had a more efficient
China,
engine.
yeah,
I'm sorry,
China, they have a concrete plan for a moon base, after their moon landing mission in 2030. So, and again, unless.
I'm sorry, Carl. I'm sorry. That's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to do that.
No, go ahead. I mean, unless U.S. change its laws that says American astronaut can't work with Chinese, that means, this is it. This is the end of the U.S. moon mission for a while.
Building a base on the moon is rational. Immediately going to Mars without having a base just seems, I don't know the word for it. I mean, you need to figure out how to build habitats. You need to figure out how to supply oxygen from the soil of wherever you're going. Meaning, if you could send robots to the moon to do that, then it gives you a practice for sending that stuff to Mars, to build that stuff on Mars before you get to Mars. Like, the moon is a stepping stone to it. Elon Musk's like, yeah, let's just go to Mars. Let's just screw it. Let's just go to Mars. Okay, good luck. You do that. And then what makes it so bad, we scrapped the Saturn V rocket. And it's like, so you had a rocket that could get you to the moon and you got rid of it without a replacement for it. Yes, that's what we did. And why did you do that? Yeah. I don't get it. Carl, question. I asked one of my guests that was here yesterday, Jeff Rich. Jeff Rich has a channel. Jeff, don't kick me. I forgot the name of that. The Burning Archive. It's a really good channel. Jeff is Australian. And I asked him, I said, hey, is Australia really going to get fed to the Chinese? Like, is that really what they're going to do? Now, from my understanding, the prime minister is in China as we speak.
Yeah.
And they seem to be having a jolly old good time. So I don't get the sense that they're going to be so willing to just feed Australians to a Chinese wood chipper. But after talking to KJ No, I don't know anymore. Because KJ was like, look, Australia has been completely obsequious to the U.S. military.
I mean, that has been the pattern. But the recent Australian PM visit to China, there seemed to send a different signal. I mean, what he said was actually China is a partner for Australia in security. And he wasn't just talking about economic security, he was talking about national security, which traditionally Australia relies on United States. And this is pretty huge because logically, Australia's largest export market is China. There's no reason why Australia should be going war against its best customer. But KJ No was right. I mean, for the past decades, Australia have acted as, U.S. junior partner, like a deputy, if you will, in the Asia Pacific. And this is because Australia still Australia has this kind of thing because they're on the periphery of Asia, but not of Asia. Because it started out as a white colony on the periphery of Asia, and there's in their mind there's still fear like the yellow horde coming down from north gonna take them over, and U.S. is their Anglo big brother who watch their back. That's a real reason for the Australia-U.S. alliance against China. But if you look at in terms of economics, it totally does not make sense because Australia and Chinese economy are complementary. Australia is an exporter of commodities. China is a consumer of commodities, and China is Australia's biggest export market. So it kind of doesn't make sense for Australia to buy nuclear sub from United States to sink shippings that go into China. What are they going to do? They're going to sink all the iron ore ships that's traveling from Australia to China. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Why do you think the U.S. is asking them now? It's such like it seems so random to be like, "Hey, we're not at war yet, but I need you to declare your side." And it's like, what? What do you mean you need us to declare? It's almost like if you're in a club. I don't know if you've ever been in a club, like especially a black club, and somebody, you can feel something about to pop off, and they say, "Hey, man, you got my back?" It's like, dude, I don't even know you. I don't even know you. Why are you asking me that? That's what it puts you in the mind of, right? It's like the U.S. is like, "Hey, we need you to declare your intentions right now." It's like, but you guys are not even at war. I don't care. We need you to declare your intentions right now.
Well,
that is so bizarre.
One reason is because U.S. right now is trying to do the empire on the cheap.
Yes.
U.S. realized that it cannot contain China alone. China being the world's #1 manufacturing superpower. So it's trying to corral all its allies and its vassals to do the dirty job for it. U.S. now it's resorting to proxy wars. This is a trend that started with Obama, right? Obama is the first one who coined, let's lead from behind, right? Yeah. Let the others do our dirty work. Let's wage proxy war. Let's wage proxy war in Libya, in Syria, in Ukraine. And what they want to do now is they want to do in Taiwan, and then have U.S. ally like Australia, like Japan, like South Korea to take the take the brunt of the Chinese missile barrage. Those countries' role is to be sponge for Chinese missiles, so there will be less Chinese missiles for the U.S. aircraft carrier group. I mean, that's their goal. So it's still up to be seen whether those countries are signing up for that. But at the same time, right now, Trump is slapping this country with tariffs left and right. Right? I mean, he's slapping. Trump is recently slapping tariffs on steel, on foreign auto parts. Oh, foreign auto parts doesn't concern Australia, but Trump is slapping tariffs on copper imports, on steel, and like all these commodities things that Australia actually exports. And this is not on one hand, U.S. is like, okay, come on, go bleed and die for us. But at the same time, I'm sorry I have to do this to you. I'm gonna have to slap you with 25% tariff on top of that. Because you gotta pay yourself for the privilege of being my frontline soldier. This is why a lot of the countries in the region who are traditional U.S. ally are now having second thoughts. Starting with Japan of all places. Japan was even more pliant vassal than Australia, and Japan is now saying, hey, if you keep playing this game, don't forget we hold $1 trillion worth of U.S. bonds. We can dump that anytime. I mean, that's a big threat. That's like going nuclear on the U.S. Financial market, and so we're gonna have to see how. And in the meantime, there is a big free trade zone, trade agreement that even includes Australia, Japan, South Korea. It's called RCEP, 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 I think. And China. This is to replace the Trans-Pacific Partnership that Trump have scrapped it in his first term. That was designed to keep China out, but except now the trade zone has China center, has China in center, but keeping the U.S. out. So the more, I'm sorry.
You're fine. Don't apologize. Don't apologize.
I'm sorry. So the more the U.S. try to contain China, the more its policy backfire, and then it comes Trump. I like to say Trump is my president. He's my president for accelerationism. He's my president for dismantling the U.S. empire left and right. So this is why Trump is also loved in China, on the Chinese internet at least. He's known as Trump, the nation builder, the nation being China, of course. Trump is making China great again.
Listen, I need you to bleed for us. Oh, and by the way, here's some tariffs. Why are you bleeding? Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll see if they do it. I mean, do you think that these countries are finally going to look? I agree with you. I think the same thing, almost for the opposite reason. No, it's for the same reason, even though I think it's the same thing. I'm like, Trump is my president. Have at it. Tariff the entire world. Go after China. Go after Russia. Go after India. Do it all at once. Do it all at once. Hit Japan, hit Malaysia, hit Indonesia, hit them all at once.
He's threatening 500% tariff against anyone who is gonna buy Russian oil. And guess who buys Russian oil the most? It's China. I mean,
Well,
is he gonna
to be fair, he dropped it to
500%?
100. He dropped it to 100.
Oh, okay, 100, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
is he right now? Is he gonna go back to the early going to May when like the Chinese ships just simply stop coming to American ports and everybody's panicking? So Scott Bessent have to chase Chinese vice premier all the way to Geneva for a deal. I mean, nobody's gonna take Trump seriously. I don't think anybody takes that threat seriously. Like we just had that. We just had that tariff war already. It didn't turn out well. You know, Trump turned into Taco Tuesday. Why are you now threatening to do secondary sanction on Russia, which means 100% tariff again on China? You know, are you going to bring that thing back? I don't think so. Trump is not serious.
That is a fantastic point. And even the U.S. press is effectively saying, they said Putin doesn't believe Trump. They just said it flat out. Trump believes that Russia is going to win the war, which is kind of a no-duh.
Yeah.
B, that they don't believe that. I mean, for one, you gave him 50 days, which is just funny to me. And on top of the 50 days, as you point out, Taco Trump always concedes something. It basically always goes back on his word. And they make the exact same point. They were like, so are you really going to hit China with 100% tariffs when you're trying to work out a deal with China? I mean, it's not like they have a deal. They have a framework currently. And so you're going to blow that up with China and India and Saudi Arabia and UAE, meaning you're going to go after all of these other countries, many of which are allies. India floats. But how did, you're going to blow up the gas market.
They're trying to loop India into Quad to contain China, but at the same time, they're threatening India with more tariffs. And when Apple tried to move production of iPhone to India, you know, their Tim Cook's plan is to have 26% of iPhone made in India so they can make iPhone for the US market. And then Trump said, oh, no, I don't want you to do that. I didn't say I want you to produce iPhone in India. So now India foreign minister just went to China as well. So, you know, India and China, the relationship was kind of rocky, but now because of US pressure, India is now having a soft reproach mom moment with China. And it's all thanks to Trump. Like I say, Trump is a great peacemaker of Asia. You know, give that man a Nobel Peace Prize already. I mean,
as I said, I am for it. I'm for it. But for not because it is great, but because it is not great. And I'm hoping that the rest of the world finally grows up and realize, okay, maybe this notion of giving America this much, because truth be told, I'm blaming everybody else for this. I'm not blaming America. I'm blaming everybody else. You guys have allowed us to behave this way. And now that Trump just is shamelessly honest about the behavior, meaning Obama was very suave. He was very debonair, but he wasn't any different. Like if he told Europe to jump, they say how.
Obama is like the black face of Wall Street. That's what he is. He's
that
the
plays
black face of Wall
basketball,
Street.
runs out greens. Yeah. Whereas Trump is like, why do we have a pretext? Why am I even pretending? Jump and ask me how high. You know, it's that, right? But it's kind of like if you work at a job, your boss has a velvet glove and is not just usually a dick to you, just to be a dick to you, right? Like meaning it's far easier for your boss to say, hey, could you go do this for me, please? As opposed to get over there and do this. They're saying the same thing, but it's very different in the way that it comes across, even though it's the same thing. Trump is the get over there and do this, which people bristle at. It's humiliating, right? Do you think there's a going back to a normality where daddy is back It's somebody like a Joe Biden or an Obama or somebody else where they're like, oh, thank God daddy's back. And the world can now be led by America with a velvet glove as opposed to the ghost face. Or do you think, no, this is a no?
I think that's what the Europeans are hoping for. I mean, remember they gave Obama a Nobel Peace Prize before he even started the job of the president, just because he's not George W. Bush. And so I think they're waiting for a second Obama to return. But I don't know, man. I'm given the American political landscape today, I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna happen. But in any case, Trump still have 3 more years, right? I mean,
shockingly, yes.
Yeah. Shockingly. So I mean, like, I don't see him being removed from the presidency anytime soon. So I mean, like, we're stuck. We're stuck. I mean, unfortunately, I mean, when I say we, I mean, unfortunately, Americans are stuck with him.
Yes, we.
China will be fine. Yeah, China will be fine. China will keep moving forward. It's the U.S. The other average working class Americans are gonna stuck with his policies.
Why do you? I mean, and I asked this question before. I don't exactly remember the answer, but why now? Do you think he's hitting up Australia and Japan? I mean, I'm guessing he's assuming South Korea is already in the bag, but he could have axed that in a year. He could have axed it in 2 years. Hell, he didn't even need to be open about it. He could have just sent a thing like, "Hey, you with me, bro?" He didn't do that. It's so bizarre. He effectively forced Australia to deal with it in a political sense, which
you have to. Well, it was a leak. It was a leak. Basically, the conversation that this is one of the Trump's Pentagon people, Colby, his conversation with Australia and Japan, asking like, how are you going to respond in case of a war over Taiwan? I think the fact it was leaked by somebody, that means that there are oppositions to the U.S. policy, right? I mean, like, basically, this is the same thing they're asking Europe to do. They ask the EU to come up with 5%, spend 5% of their GDP on military spending, which really means spending 5% of their GDP purchasing U.S. weapons. And the same thing, this is what they want Taiwan, Australia, Japan, South Korea to do as well, to arm up and to be ready to sacrifice yourself for the greatness of America. but right now, I mean, that's not. I mean, nobody have that in their cards, right? I mean, even in Taiwan, even the most hardcore Taiwan independence advocate, their plan is to Americans to die and bleed for them, for their independence. Their plan is not to have themselves to die and fight and die for America. You see, there's a fundamental disconnect here. America's like, okay, Taiwan, you got to arm up, you got to spend more money on American weapon system, and you gotta mobilize to fight China on the beach. But the Taiwanese like, no, we expect you to do that. We expect you to die on our beach. And so I mean, this is why I don't think a hot war is likely in the immediate future, because if you look at what U.S. is actually doing right now, they're already pulling their carrier group back from the first island chain back to the second island chain, back to Guam, because they know if they deploy their aircraft carrier too far forward, they will be solidly in the missile range of the Chinese missile barrage. And so now they're talking about, okay, what are we going to do with those aircraft carrier groups who are become a liability if a war break out? Maybe how can we use them if we can't forward deploy them? The whole point of aircraft carrier is for power projection, right? But it's really nowadays really for power projection against weak countries without air force, without air defense. Yeah, but even that they're not doing very well. We saw that in Yemen, right? Yemen, they lost 3 F-18s against a country with no air force and no air defense. And if in fact during the latest 12-day conflict, between Iran and Israel, U.S. deployed carrier group to Middle East, and they said they was sending the third one on the way. So effectively, there are no U.S. aircraft carrier battle groups in the water surrounding China right now. And so if you look at what they do, it's actually a strategic retreat. They're already ceding, the area around China, around Taiwan, around South China Sea to the Chinese Navy.
But they have to know that China has the capability, like, to put it in perspective. Iran told the United States exactly what they were going to hit. We're going to hit, what is it called? Basically the base in Qatar. We're going to hit that base. Told them flat out, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're targeting. The United States fired all of the air defense into the sky, and Iran still hit their target. And you think about that, you think to yourself, okay, if Iran was able to do that and hit their target with the US knowing exactly where they were firing, what does it look like with China hitting Taiwan or hitting any aircraft carrier that's near China? It seems so farcical. It seems so ludicrous. And even if you're talking about a nuclear war, okay, well, you're not going to win a nuclear war.
That's why they're pulling back. They know that, because I heard a Taiwanese journalist who recently interviewed by Stephen Su on Manifold podcast. Yeah. He said basically over every Taiwanese base, missile base, there will be a Chinese satellite passing over every 18 minutes.
Yes.
And China right now, they're building a constellation of satellites to rival, what Elon Musk had. And they already have the Beidou system, which has more coverage than GPS, because China have more ground station in places like Africa and South America, and so the only way. So China developed a whole entire kill chain where their satellites can detect the movement of U.S. aircraft carrier group or the U.S. military bases, and they can fire their anti-ship ballistic missiles, and then they can correct course midway based on their new feed from their satellite intelligence. And U.S. knows this, and the only way to counter that is going to have, maybe we're talking about satellite warfare, destroying each other's satellite. But that will mean there will be so much space debris around the Earth that will potentially shut down the space travel for humans, maybe forever.
And destroy any U.S. satellite that's in the area also. I mean, people
because
warfare
once you start destroying satellites, and there are a lot of satellites out there, that means there's going to be space debris everywhere. And that's going to make the human space travel almost impossible.
And by the way, just to be clear, it's not just floating debris. It's going around the Earth at ridiculous speeds. Like it is just like bullets of metal, just killing anything that is in the kill chain. Like you said, it will make it impossible for even U.S. satellites, or for that matter, space travel. Oh God, man, this seems so pointless. It just seems so pointless. It's like a pointless endeavor. It's like you are screwing around with Taiwan, and nobody was trying to get their hands on Taiwan. And because you're trying to get your hands on Taiwan now, we have to make sure that Taiwan doesn't go to you, because we don't want you to have a military base on Taiwan on our shore. It's so provocative, to put it mildly. How does China look at this? I mean, China, I see Russia's response in Ukraine, and I know these are different locations because Taiwan, this is a family thing. Taiwan is part of China. And so this is almost like you're bringing back something into the fold, or for that matter, protecting it from, let's say, foreign influence. But the U.S. is military in Taiwan right now. When does China?
U.S. is doing insane amount of provocation right now.
Yes.
But China is acting in a very restrained manner to not to be baited into a war that U.S. won. Sun Tzu in his Art of War said very specifically, you don't want to fight on your enemy's schedule. You don't want to fight on your enemy's timing and on your enemy's chosen battle place. You want to choose the time and the place when you want to do battle. And the best way to win a war is to do it without battle. And China knows that very well, and China is very patient because China knows time is on its side. Every year, China is pumping out more warships, pumping out more missiles, and by 2030, the Chinese 6th generation stealth aircraft will be able to flying all the way up to Guam, where they will be met with no opposition because U.S. 6th generation aircraft to this day is still on the PowerPoint presentation phase. So China just need to wait. They just need to wait for Taiwan to fall back onto the lap of the motherland. So they are playing the long game. You know, Chinese, if anything, are very patient people. You know, they already waited 70 years. You know, they can easily wait another 10, 20 years, no problem.
I know, but that ignores that the United States knows that. Like the 2027 timeframe, you know, every accusation is a confession. It's very possible that's a confession, not an accusation. And part of the reason that I asked why are they asking Australia, Japan now, that's kind of weird. It's so random. It's so arbitrary. Is it possible?
There's also a reason China put on the export control on rare earth. And you know, you're not gonna get those rare earths to make your missiles to hit China. I'm sorry. You know, China is not gonna provide you the materials for you to make missiles to fight a war against China. That's just not gonna happen. And United States is not gonna be able to sort through that supply chain problem, at least within 10 years. But
it doesn't stop them from salami slicing Taiwan in the way that they
yeah. No, they'll keep on doing this. I mean, but think about it. Realistically, what's those 500 Marines going to do in Taiwan, right? If when the shit hits the fan, they will be stuck on the island if the Chinese Navy start a blockade. You know, they will just be sitting ducks. Like they don't make any material. I mean, their only goal, if you think about it, is to act as some kind of tripwire. So for Washington can claim, oh, our troops are in danger. We have to go save our troops, right? I mean, that's the goal of the U.S. Presence in South Korea as well. Everyone know they are to serve purpose of tripwire. If there somehow war breaks out, they're in danger. U.S. now can justify to put him, you know, to calm down really hard, quote unquote, for saving Private Ryan, right? I mean.
Is there anything in Chinese history that equals or matches this? I mean, you know, just like 5,000 years of history. So I don't have the expectation that you know all 5,000 years of. If you do, you're an extraordinarily impressive man. So maybe you do.
Actually, there is a period of Chinese history called the Warring States period. This is about from 2500 to 2,000 to 2,200 years ago. The period of 300 years of very intensive warfare among different Chinese states. And this is a time when the Art of War was written. And so China is used to having intense interstate competition. And that's kind of closely mirror what happens today. Now, China have plenty of strategic inheritance, if you will, that they can draw from their own history on how to deal with people like United States, you know, like an unreasonable, crazed hegemon bending on world domination.
How did it? I mean, what was this response? Look, from my point of view, sitting around, for me is difficult to do. And I will tell you, when I played chess in tournaments, and you have like this kind of 40 minutes, 40 moves in 2 hours.
Jamar, that's American. That's very American, because American response is always, we gotta do something. We gotta do something. No, right. You don't always need to do something. You know, sometimes patience is virtue. You know, you can wait out your opponent, make him getting impatient. You know, you then maybe.
It's like, oh, he's frozen.
Okay, my internet is slowing down.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. It's like, which is very American. It's like something needs to be done right now. You got to do something right now. Fair enough. I mean, by the way, the Russians, they also invaded Ukraine. Like, they also took the perspective of something needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's different. I mean Russia, they have a very different strategic tradition, right?
Yeah.
China, and I can understand Russia's position as well, because for them, ever since they signed the Minsk Agreement 1 and Minsk Agreement 2, things have been getting worse for them, because NATO was supplying more weapons. They were building up Ukraine military to be even more capable than before. If the Russia let that situation drag on longer, the worse the strategic balance will be for Russia when they finally do decide to do something. But across the Taiwan Strait, that's completely different, because right now it's China that's gaining the upper hand as time goes on. China is building more ships. They have 232 times the naval build capacity than United States. That's admitted by Pentagon, right? And they are doing that. They're making missile destroyers like dumplings right now in the Chinese shipyard. And Chinese Navy is already the world's largest navy by numbers of vessels, but U.S. is still largest by pure tonnage. But that is going to change in a few years. I would say in next 4 years, Chinese Navy might even be bigger than U.S. Navy, even in terms of because a lot of U.S. aircraft carrier, let's not forget, is due to retire. Like the Roosevelt, like they're the one they sent to Persian Gulf, like these. So unless U.S. try to keep around those World War II era aircraft carrier to fight World War III, we'll see. Maybe that will happen.
Do you think we're going to end up in a third World War? Is China's plan, if we can develop sufficient deterrence through tonnage, through military might, through nuclear weapons, etc., then we can avoid a third World War, because the United States is not stupid enough to challenge us at that point.
That's why China is building its military force right now, and they're not just building conventional conventional force. They're also expanding their nuclear arsenal. Well, according to Pentagon reports, China will likely increase its nuclear warheads to 1,500 in 2030. Like that's enough. That's enough to glass United States from sea to shining sea. I think that's pretty strong deterrent.
Do you think this is going to end up in a nuclear war? I'm curious. Because any attack on Taiwan, any fight over Taiwan is a nuclear war. Because
look, if a war do break out, it's very hard for me to see how it will not escalate to nuclear, because one reason is because U.S. is now it's being outgunned in conventional weapons. They cannot defeat China in conventional warfare right now. This is why there's a lot of studies been floating around about deploying tactical nukes against China if a war, because their idea is, okay, maybe tactical nukes is small enough not to cross the nuclear threshold to invite a nuclear response like a city buster. But that's a very slippery slope. Like once you go nuclear, once you open that Pandora's box, that means China also can use tactical nukes. If you use tactical nukes on a Chinese naval port, what if China use a tactical nuke on San Diego? What then? I don't see a path of de-escalation from a nuclear war. It's only escalatory. So if a war break out, it's very likely will end up in nuclear war. But I don't think the prospect for war is imminent. That's still my judgment. I don't think that's gonna likely in the next 5 years.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Beyond 5 years, beyond 5 years, who knows? Nobody can predict what happens beyond 5 years. But I think within 5 years we'll be safe.
One last point. What is the relationship from your point of view between Iran and China?
Well,
I know China considers it a vested interest, but how close is that vested interest?
Iran is a friendly country toward China, right? But if you look at actual military cooperations, it's actually the the type of cooperation between Iran and China is actually less close than, say, that between China and Pakistan, right? Because Pakistan, like they purchased like 80% of the Chinese military hardware. The Pakistan Air Force trains with the Chinese PLA Air Force regularly every few years. And that did make a big difference in their capability. So Iran is not quite there yet, but I see a positive move in the right direction. If this weapon purchase, as reported, goes through, like I say, those weapon purchases are not just simply exchange money for hardware. There are relationship building exercise over the long term. This is a start of a decade-long defense cooperation. So it's moving in that direction. It's not quite there yet, but I think in the coming years they will likely grow even closer.
I hope so. I mean, because China does understand that Iran is a pillar to its own security, correct? I mean, it seems like it understands it.
Of course.
Okay, good. I'm that sounds like a stupid question, but for the longest time, Iran wasn't buying anything from China. They didn't want Russia's help or weapons.
Well, I mean, no. People have to remember, there was an international arms embargo against Iran that wasn't lifted until October 2020. So Iran essentially only had like 5 years or 4 years, only had 4 years to do this arm purchases, and they did make some deals with Russia for air defense and jet fighter, but again, it takes time to. It's not like these are not like BB guns, right? These are not BB guns. You can't just use it right away. You have to train your pilots. You have to train your ground crew. You have to train your people who can handle those new radar systems. So that takes time. And so the question now is really, would Israel and United States give Iran the time to arm up? Because you would take Iran at least a couple years to rebuild their air defense system, and you will take them longer, maybe 4 to 5 years to build an effective air force. So the question is whether Israel can wait that long to break a ceasefire, right?
No, they cannot. They cannot. Yeah, we'll see. And yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I know people are talking about the missiles or the airplanes, but that stuff is not overnight. That stuff is like a decade to get a proper trained air force that's capable and everything else. So, Carl, man, as I point out, you are fantastic. Your knowledge of Chinese history is always amazing to me. Again, we have 5,000 years to work with. That is a hell of a lot to kind of keep in mind.
And I managed to put my son to sleep.
While doing the show. Again, Mr. Fantastic. It's like I could do a show and rock my baby to bed. That is perfect. That's good. Carl Zha, does a 4-year-old help with the 1-year-old?
Kind of, sort of. Not he probably need to be a little bit older, but he at least kind of watch out for his little brother.
Because my older dog,
he's not old enough to independently babysit the baby yet.
Yeah, my older dog used to help take care of the other dog because the puppy idolized the older dog. The older dog didn't care. It just was like, get away from me. But he used to pay attention to him and just do what he did. And so like when he has to go out, it's like he'll go right out. When he has to do something else, he'll do this. And so he effectively helped train the younger dog. It was just funny. Carl Zha. Carl Zha is the host of Silk and Steel podcasts focused on China's surrounding areas or the surrounding regions, history, culture, and politics. You can follow Carl on Twitter at Carl Zha, and it's ZHA. You can follow his podcast on Steel Silk, the letter N. And you can subscribe and support him on patreon.com/silk and steel. Carl, thank you, man. I appreciate this.
Thank you. Anytime.
Absolutely. You be safe. All right. And Carl was able to put a baby to bed at the exact same time of doing the show. I got to be honest. I can't do that. I don't have that much talent. I don't have that much skill where I can focus on a show and rock a baby a bit as you're focusing on the show. By the way, I did think that my ex-wife was trying to, it's complicated. She wanted kids. I didn't want kids. I wanted to travel. And for the while, she also wanted to travel. And so while we were traveling, we didn't have to worry about the kids, so I could kind of skate on that. I had this feeling, this sense that she's like, all right, we got a puppy and we got another puppy. And taking care of the puppy, like teething, vet, all that stuff, is kind of like, hey, baby ain't so bad. You took care of the puppy. Why would the baby be that much worse? Now, if you don't know any better, that may be a soothing argument. You may think to yourself, hey, you know, she may have a point. She has a point. They'll take care of it. I love that dog. Even though it bugs the hell out of me at times, I love that dog. As Carl Zha pointed out, those are two radically different things. She almost got me. She did get knocked up almost immediately after we broke up. And I am happy for her because I know she wanted a kid. And so I always felt guilty for her not having one. All right, I am waiting on Arnaud. Let me check, make sure I didn't make any screw ups with sending him a link or anything like that, because I am a man, I am flawed, and I can make mistakes. Okay, no mistakes. 8 a.m. for 30. Okay, good. All right. Hopefully he shows up. Hopefully he comes. I went into the story early on talking about what was taking place in Syria, and I'm going to wait for Laith to hit on that again. What I will hit on, though, is Trump. I will hit on Trump. Do you remember? I believe it was last week. In fact, it was last week, where Donald Trump came out. Well, it was Monday. He says, I have a big announcement. People said, okay, Donald Trump is going to make a huge announcement on the issue of Russia. Because Donald Trump said he's annoyed. Putin is jerking him around. He talked to his wife. His wife would ask him, hey, how was your conversation with Putin? And Trump would say, I had a really good conversation with him. And then he said, and despite the pleasant conversation, Russia wasn't screwing over Russia on behalf of Donald Trump. Kind of like Carl Zha said, I need you to bleed for the dignity and sanctity of America. Well, Russia wasn't going to do that, even though Putin would have a very pleasant conversation with him. And so Trump is like, fine, I'm being pressured from all sides. I look like an asshole because I am trying to get somebody to do something that they're just not going to do because it's not in their interest to do. And because I have this huge amount of hubris and ego that is completely undeserved for the capability of my intellect, I am going to go out and I'm going to make threats. Because as an American president, full of ego, that's the best thing that I can do. Now, the problem with Donald Trump making threats is Taco Trump. The belief that Donald Trump always backs down. Donald Trump is inconsistent, and you can't really trust him for anything. And because you can't trust him for anything, your threats matter less. And not just matter less in the context of Putin. He looks at it as, I don't care what your threats are. My vested interest is in completing this war. You, as Trump, can't be trusted. And B, what you're offering makes no sense in the context of a war that you lost. So Trump comes out and he says, from henceforth, I'm going to give weapons to Zelensky. From henceforth, I'm going to give air defense to Zelensky. And in 50 days, if Russia doesn't do something, whatever that something is, I'm going to pass secondary sanctions on Russia. Now, the secondary sanctions, Lindsey Graham wanted 500%. Donald Trump is effectively saying 100%. Problem, most of those things are lies. Most of those things are lies. Now, what do I mean by this? So this is Donald Trump defending his ultimatum where they're asking him, hey, why are you waiting 50 days for this? Why are you waiting 50 days? Now, it has been said that 50 days is effectively the end of summer, and the thought being that the summer offensive may be over with and that Russia may be more inclined to make a deal. Maybe, maybe not. This is Trump defending
Did he tell you
his
what?
ultimatum, as they're calling it.
I think 50 days is very long, and it could be sooner than that. I don't think 50 days is very long. You should have asked that same question to Biden.
Now, that's a man who doesn't know how to respond to that question. He only knows, I need to attack because I don't necessarily want to deal with the gravity of the question that you're asking me. Because ultimately, it is a man with no cards. And Donald Trump knows he has no cards. And the reporters, an American president, full of hubris, mendacious, has this hegemonic burden that he carries with him. The media doesn't quite get that. What the media knows is, well, he's an American president. He can move heaven and earth. He can do anything. And so when the media is talking to him from that point of view of, hey, why aren't you doing more? And Donald Trump knows, I don't have anything more to do. It's frustrating. Hence, what you get is that. What you get is that. What the media is reporting at this point is that, many of the states in Europe haven't agreed to this. Donald Trump just said Europe is going to pay for it. And many of the states in Europe, France, Czech Republic, Hungary, Italy, have said, we're not paying for anything. Screw you. Germany is apparently going to pay for part of it. I believe the UK is most likely going to pay for part of it. The rest are like, screw you, or it's in limbo. They have no idea where the Patriots are coming from. So when Trump said, I have 17 Patriots that are in motion, nobody knows what that means. Patriot batteries, Patriot missiles, Patriot, what does it mean? And where are you going to actually get those things from, considering many of those states either don't have them or not going to part with them? Trump just lied. Taco Trump. Let me bring in my guests. We are joined with the man himself, Arnaud Develay. Arnaud, he is author, political analyst, and international lawyer specializing in international criminal law. His book, Foreign Entanglements, Biden, Ukraine, and the Fracturing of America's Political Consensus. Welcome to the show, my man. How you doing today? You doing all right?
I'm doing fine. It's a little humid here in Moscow. It feels like we got to take a shower every 5 minutes.
It has been
I'm
90.
so sick of it.
Are you?
Yeah.
I just see, you don't mind it. It's been over 90 every day here. Going for ever since I've been here.
No, I mean, the high temperatures are okay. It's just the humidity is like in the 90%.
The constant
so,
sweating.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, constant sweating.
anyhow.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody gets used to it, and everybody just sits there and sweat together. And you're just kind of more forgiving of your fellow man for just sweating anyway. I brought you on because I'm super curious about what's going on in Moscow in regards to Donald Trump's quote unquote ultimatum. And I was going through part of it, this idea that Patriots are on the way, and people are like, okay, where are you getting those Patriots from? How are you getting 17? You can't replace them. So how do you expect somebody else to give them up when everybody is already strapped for the Patriots that they have? And then to add insult to injury, this idea, well, Europe is going to just buy our weapons. And Europe is like, no, we're not. So France, Italy, Czech Republic, Hungary, these countries are like, no, we're not. Amsterdam's unclear. Netherlands, I know Amsterdam's not a country, but they haven't necessarily signed on to it yet either. Meaning many of these countries have told Trump to F off. You think you're slick. You just want to sell American weapons to us in order to give to Ukraine. You think you're slick. You're turning this into a business deal. The UK is stupid enough to do it, and apparently Germany is stupid enough to do it. But other states, not so much. So Donald Trump came out with this big speech. Nobody believes the 100% ultimatum. And the other part of the ultimatum, or the other part of it where you're giving weapons, that is unclear on how you're even going to do it. What is going on in Moscow? How does Moscow see this? I mean, are they shaking in their boots? Are they terrified? Is Putin freaking out on air because he's scared of Donald Trump, or is Putin just completely unfazed by any of this? Because I haven't even heard a response from Putin yet.
Well, there you go. You haven't heard a response, means that the latter will be actually the answer, meaning they're unfazed. They're, if anything, they're amused. I mean, if we can be amused when someone who allegedly heads one of the most nuclear armed power in the world,
Yeah.
he's all over the place. Yeah, I think we're just witnessing a U.S. Administration, a presidency that has crashed out before it even began. And in between the lines, that's really what's going on, and that's really, really worrying, if you ask me. Because what else is he left with?
Explain that.
Well, because obviously the guy, they've got something on him. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to presume or speculate on what's going on here, but they've got him. They've got him, and this is not he doesn't have the same swagger as he used to have.
Wait. You lost me on this. Who is they? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Who is they? You mean neocons?
Well, whatever you want. The neocons, the deep states, the Zionist lobby, most likely the Zionist lobby, actually, if you ask me, if I were to, throw a guess out there, yes. I think but they're all the same fellow travelers, neocons, military industrial complex, Zionist lobby, they're all part, it's part for the same. I mean, all of them are pretty much, on agreement on 70% of U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah.
And so now we have, so we have the Epstein 180, degree, which really took everybody by surprise, starting with his own base, which to this day is split right down the middle, and it's not getting any better. It's getting so bad, actually, that the Democrats, whom we assumed were at the bottom of the hole, actually are now presenting themselves as the champions of transparency. And so now, even though they don't have the votes in Congress, they're going out of their way trying to get this release, adopted.
Yeah.
So it's a clown world, as somebody would be fond of saying. It's a clown. It's a cluster F, if you ask me, the whole thing. And the problem is when you've got a conflict in Europe, which is somewhat getting more. It's like right before you get to conclude that you need to amputate, we have this kind of gangrene. So the situation is really turning into gangrene now, because on paper it's a done deal, militarily speaking, but for some reason they just don't want to let it go. And so now we're getting into this kind of uncharted territories because it makes no sense whatsoever. And at the same time, the person who might be the best situated to unilaterally, and this is what he ran on, put an end to it, and keep saying himself that people have got to stop dying. Well, man, the ball is in your court. I mean, what kind of intelligence are you being fed? Just make the call. But even that now, we're more Biden than Biden himself in this particular context. So we have the West Asia, situation, which is obviously on standby, but it will get out of control anytime now, again, in the foreseeable future, for sure, before his administration is over. If anything, because he's given them everything they wanted and some, so they will definitely milk out MAGA for what it's worth. Mm-hmm. But they even got an extra, because now the guy is actually. I mean, I don't know if the rhetoric will be followed by action. You mentioned in your introduction that obviously the Europeans are tired. At least some of them are at least tired of being taken out for a ride. And so they're trying now to exploit this political weakness, and the optics of it, to somehow buy themselves a new suit, in terms of their own population. Yeah, because the first 3 months, I mean, they were getting hammered by Trump. All of them, succeeded into the Oval Office to get spanked by the Don, and now we're looking at an all different situation. I mean, the configuration, the complexion of the situation has changed from top to bottom. It's unbelievable. I mean, who would have thought, back when he got sworn in, that a mere 6 months later we'd be where we are now. But at the same time, this is a guy who's completely coyed now. He's been castrated, and he's all like I mean, you see some of the journalists keep on harping about the release of the Epstein file, and he doesn't even seem like he's fighting now. He's like, "Whoa, I don't know what you're talking about." The guy is pathetic, The big beautiful bill just blew up in his face. He's now presented as unreliable as can be. I mean, he's betraying people left, right, and center. And the internet never forgets anything. So if we just talk about the Epstein situation, his own son said that scumbags should be going to jail. Your own blood, man.
By the way,
this brings me.
Pam Bondi fired the prosecutor that prosecuted Epstein.
Da Costa.
Yeah. Well, no, not Acosta. It was another for the State Department. They fired because Acosta gave a sweetheart deal. They went after Epstein under the Trump administration. The woman that went after Epstein, the Trump administration fired that woman. They just.
Are you talking about Comey? Is that Comey's daughter?
Oh, I don't know.
She was fired too.
Yeah,
Jim Comey's daughter. Yeah, she was at DOJ and she just got fired. So that might be the same person.
Wow.
I don't know.
Sorry. Please continue, though. I'm sorry.
So yeah. So anyways, so this whole thing looks completely. It's like a clown show. I mean, it really is. So the big beautiful bill. It's going to endear the country even more. But I guess that's the game plan, right? It's go Keynesian economics with a vengeance, hoping that somehow it leads to an economic spurt. But investors are not very confident. We have this whole shenanigan with the tariff. The guy doesn't seem to understand the most basic tenets about how tariff works.
Right.
And now we hear, he even goes to bat for Lindsey Graham with this stupid 100% tariff rate, secondary sanctions on anybody and their mother who deals, with Russia. So just, I don't know, man. This is.
I think,
I don't know what to think. But it's scary. It's scary. It's a scary situation.
I think we're seeing.
Because he needs a W and fast.
I'll tell you what I think it is. I think we have an American president who has this mantle of this burden of hegemony, this burden of I'm the president of the United States, I'm the leader of the free world, meaning that stuff gets in your head. And then you're confronted with the reality where you have little power in the process. So how do I compel Russia to do something they don't want to do when I just lost the war? How do I do that? Well, you can't do it. And so you have to puff up your chest. I'm going to 50 days. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to pass sanctions. I'm going to do this. Okay. Well, they had 16,000 sanctions on Russia. And so you're going to pass another one. Yeah. Some insane number. Right. And so, but the media and the way that the media treats you as a president is with this assumed point of view that you can do something about anything. It's like, Mr. President, there's an asteroid that's coming. What are we doing about it? It's like, what the hell do you think I'm going to do about an asteroid about to hit the Earth, right? But that's the way they talk to the president. So they say, Mr. President, Putin is still attacking Ukraine, and he hit him with 700 drones. What are you going to do about it? What do you say? What do you say?
I'm really hungry with Putin. I'm very hungry.
Right. I need a hamburger. Like, you can't say anything. There's nothing you can do. And it's like, well, we're going to send 17 Patriots. You mean the Patriots that didn't work to stop the Iranian missile that hit the base at, what is it, Al-Dud or Al-Quds base? Or not Al-Quds base,
Al-Uday.
Al-Uday.
Al-Uday. Yeah.
Right.
No, it's
like
16 Patriots.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, or 14 or what. But it's
they
ridiculous.
Don't know where they're coming from. They don't even know if he means Patriot batteries, missiles. They don't know what he means. Like, it's absurd. And I guess my point is, if you're Trump, what do you do when you know you can't do anything? That's his position. That's what I think the position is. That's why I think he looks so crazy right now. It's like, hey, Trump, what about
that? It's ironic because we are fond of saying about the U.S. presidency that it's the most powerful pulpit in the world.
Yes.
Always imagine it's like Jerry West is the logo of the NBA. And the U.S. presidency is like the logo of influencing as a concept, right?
Yep.
You get the guy behind the lectern like this lectern, and haranguing, and obviously the voice carries out to the four corners of the world. But now, for the first time, you think actually the guy will want to crawl under a rock, because there's not one file, one dossier that is going his way. I mean, the economics, whatever the plan is, Jerome Powell doesn't want to lower the rates, right?
Yeah.
So there's a big tug of war here, and that gets in the way of his economic strategy. In the meantime, he's trying to take on the whole world about tariff, when he doesn't understand that the U.S. economy is completely unmeshed in neoliberal policies for the last 30 years, which basically have disarmed it. You have to have, as he says, the cards to be able to play like this and carry a stick, a big stick, and talk loud to people. And I think it's funny because in a way, this is something that I think it's Michael Wolff, the guy who wrote The Bonfire of the Vanity. Was it him? He was saying, this is a topic, for a new book, an updated version, or a Gore Vidal, a book about Americana and the delusion of the loss of power, coming to terms with the loss of power.
Yes.
This is not, we're not even 20 years ago. And the Trump communications skill set exemplifies this kind of almost to a caricatural level, because he's talking as if he's completely disconnected from reality, and so it's sad in a way, because we want America. Everybody the world over, likes America. America has had this. They have their demons, to be sure, but America to be sure, but every country has their own dark pages. But I'm just saying, America has completely redefined collective imagination during the 20th century, no matter what we think about it, And so seeing this whole thing just coming crashing down in such a fracas, and the more it's interesting, because the more vocal, the more noisy the fracas, the less impactful in a way it is followed in as far as concrete actions behind it.
Agreed.
They don't have the means, in other words, of their bravado. It's gone. They are broke. The country is broke. Say what?
Well, I'm just saying. Also, you highlight it, meaning when you tell somebody, "Hey, you need to do this," and they say "F off," you highlight the fact that you don't have it.
That's the worst. They don't say anything. They just smile wryly.
Yeah.
They're bemused. If they said "F off," that would mean that they're, somewhat backed against the corner, and they're desperate and they're trying to, look good, even though they're about to die, But here they were just bemused from a distance. We're not even paying attention anymore, because it's every day. Yeah. When you are president of the United States, you have to be very economic of how you distribute and dispatch the presidential word.
Yeah.
So that it carries, when you do use it, it carries something, whether through a solemn speech to the nation at 8 p.m. on the networks, or, but the key of it is, you have to use it very sparsely. And in this day and age, with all the, social platform, and the guy's got his own network, his own platform. Yeah. So he doesn't even bother with the customary use of readouts, and, State Department will do the talking for me, right? The guy is all over the place. He's not a president. He's an hyper president. He's a president on steroid. But the problem is, although he's on steroid, it's all about words, and it's like the guy's an empty suit. And Putin said it to his own advisor some years back. He said the problem with the U.S. System is that a guy is replaced by another guy, and in the end, before you know it, within a few days after the election, you've got a bunch of faceless suits coming to see him, and basically tell him, okay, this is the game plan. This is how it's going to be played.
Yeah,
And
it's like I know what you said.
it would
but
be
this is how it's gonna be
it
done.
would
Yeah.
it would behoove you to follow the game plan and be a team, a team player,
I'm
or
curious.
else. And I think he
I-
got the or else, like,
While
I don't know. They reminded him of something, but he looks completely scared out of his wits. Maybe they threatened him. They threatened his kids. They showed him, some pics, compromising pics. I mean, now you're thinking about what Musk used to say a few months back, and it echoes with even more force now.
He's on the list. He's in the files. I'm curious on something else. So the Washington Post, Financial Times all came out and said that Donald Trump was considering allowing Ukraine to hit Moscow or even St. Petersburg with long-range missiles. And apparently when he asked Zelensky, hey, do you have the capability of hitting Moscow? Zelensky said, give me the weapons, I'll do it. And Trump said, also go after St. Petersburg. Okay, now when Donald Trump was asked this directly, and I got to be honest, there's no way that he would answer this question honestly. So you could take this for what it's worth. But when he was asked directly, he said this.
He shouldn't target Moscow.
Is it Moscow?
We talked
Should
Moscow.
Zelensky target Moscow, sir? Should Zelensky target Moscow or deeper into Russia?
No, he shouldn't target Moscow.
Okay, so now he's saying you shouldn't target Moscow. So they're saying that either Washington Post or, for the matter, Financial Times got it wrong. I don't think Financial Times got it wrong. I think, if anything, it is a wink and a nod that Donald Trump is acting kind of like with Operation Spiderweb, where he's like, I had no idea that they were going to murder people on a train. I had no idea that they were going to do these terrorist activities. Oh my God. Or the same thing with Israel, right? I had no idea that Israel was going to attack Iran while we were negotiating. I had no idea. And now it's, no, I don't think they should do it at all. I don't think they should attack Petersburg or Moscow at all. He's in a problem, right? Like, you want Russia to accept your deal. Russia's told you that we're not accepting your stupid deal. We are open to negotiate, but these are the things that we need. You either take it or you don't. Okay, so Donald Trump can't make any movement on that. Giving additional weapons is not going to do anything to it. So how do you get it to move? It's that part. And I don't know an answer to that. And I would wager he doesn't either, short of escalating in some way, in a way that he may think in his mind, okay, if I can make this more damaging for Russia, then maybe they'll be willing to take my terms, since up to this point, they're not willing to do so. Or do you think that's too provocative, even for Donald Trump? And by the way, one last thing, what do you think Russia would do if indeed missiles from the US does hit Moscow? Because I would wager to you that the US is waging, Russia's not going to do anything from the standpoint of US interests. And this could be the last question.
Well, I think the problem is that in allowing such extremist statements to be made at the highest level of the US system of government, then you open you move the Overton window in such a place that people were acting behind the scenes and sometimes pressing buttons without you getting necessarily informed about it. They can somehow act on such policy, keeping in mind that, it came from the top down. I mean, it was uttered publicly.
Yeah.
You see, it creates this kind of tolerance for the most extreme steps to be implemented. Whereas if he was really clear about certain things, red line type clear, and even admonishing ahead of time anybody who might get this idea that, doing such a thing as targeting Moscow or St. Petersburg, and they can do it with tomahawks. You can put nuclear warheads on tomahawks, by the way. You don't need the Patriots. You can do it with tomahawks. So if he gives tomahawks to the guy, a very guy who to whom he was belittling a mere 4 months ago in the Oval Office, was like the big dressing down, and now the roles are reversed, as if the guys come under the spell of the Green Goblin. I don't know, but
yeah.
The problem is when you start talking like this, even though you may somehow relent, later on when asked again, but people think, well, I mean, he's said it, he's somewhat playing with the notion, but he's not completely excluding it. And so that gives a lot of ideas to people within the more, inner strata of the U.S. State Department. I mean, you know that same crowd. They get Russia type of crowd, and they can say, hey, we were under the understanding that we had to teach Putin a lesson because he doesn't want to, play ball, i.e., consider ceasefire without any condition, which is, again, it's a non-starter. But
nonsense.
Yeah. So this is a dangerous part to me. This is where we are, and I really feel like this is really getting out of control here. I mean, in Moscow, Peskov says, we haven't heard certain things that you are relating or alluding to. We are trying to, get more clarification, or, a lot of things are being said. It doesn't necessarily mean that he said them. They're trying to put a veneer on it. They're trying not to be rattled. They're trying not to be showing as if, it's affecting them in any way, shape, or form. They're staying stoic as much as possible. But I'm sure at the meetings of the Security Council, there's those issues are addressed, and people are probably feeling,
some pressure.
And anything is possible with the Americans. I mean, we might have thought for a short while that this guy might deliver, some kind of out on this Ukraine conflict. But obviously, they're saying what you and I are saying. They've got something on him. They, i.e., the deep state, right? The little faceless suit men. They've got something on him. Because it's one thing not to release the Epstein files, but now you're going to back on the Ukraine, which was also one of the main campaign promise, by the way. It defined your electoral win. I'll put an end to the Ukraine, the useless. It would have never happened under my watch. That's what he said. Kept repeating it. It's Biden's war. And the guy is about, it's crazy. So this, that's my take on the whole thing here. This is
30 seconds. Here, how would Moscow respond? I mean, because there's a question about if that happens, what would Moscow do? I mean, Germany has pulled back their Taurus missiles, so they're not even sending Taurus missiles anymore. Now it's just the U.S.
Well, Russia does not. They're trying not to get caught in a reacting mode. They're anticipating, so they'll kill the whole thing in the eggs. So it's all going to come down to intelligence, trying to locate those vectors before they even enter the Ukrainian theater of operation, and send a slew of Kingzal or Zircoin or whatever, just obliterate them before they even get set up for launching.
I see.
But it's a dicey situation, because if your intelligence is faulty, all it takes is one vector to be armed and sent, calibrated to go and land on a major urban center. And here you really have a hot war between NATO and Russia. If that's, ultimately, because I mean, it's politically, you don't come back from that.
Arnaud Develay, my man. Always appreciate you, man. Thank you for this. Arnaud Develay, he's an author, political analyst, international lawyer, specializing in international criminal law. His latest book, Foreign Entanglements, Biden, Ukraine, and the Fracturing of America, Political Consensus. We're going to have to get you to write another book on Trump. Basically, they got someone.
Yes. Trump part 2.
All right. You have a good one, man. Be safe. Thank you. All right, let's go from one great guest to another one. My man, thank you for accepting this, Laith, especially at the last minute like this. Laith Marouf. Laith Marouf is an award-winning multimedia producer and media policy consultant focused on issues of liberation, decolonization from indigenous nations to Arab peoples, and building broadcasting capabilities to misrepresented, underrepresented communities. And you can follow Laith on Free Palestine TV. There's also Free Palestine Video, or that video, I should say. How you doing, man? You doing okay today?
Good. How about you, Jamal? Thank you for having me.
I'm doing okay. Dragging ass a little bit, but I'm okay. So this happened, and part of the reason that I actually come on early, as opposed to coming on tomorrow, was because of this. And I didn't know entirely what to think about this, and I was very curious on your take about this. This is Ministry of Defense and the presidential palace, apparently, getting bombed by Israel. And a very excited man.
قصف جديد يا
He's
شباب.
discussing it.
قصف جديد ما بنهاية الأركان خالص.
That is so dramatic.
قصف جديد يا شباب، قصف، خذونا بسرعة 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 بسرعة.
Explain to us, for the American audience, why is that happening?
Well, it's just obviously there's a lot that people don't know about Syria, but to put it simply, if you look at the geography of Syria, there's the extreme east where Deir Zor is, there's the extreme west, the coast, and then there's the extreme south where Suwaida is. And those three regions have been the incubator of revolt and revolution in Syrian history, including the Great Syrian Revolt against French occupation. It started from Suwaida, the Druze area led by Sultan Amir al-Atrash, and he's the head of, at that time, of the Druze sect, and the Alawites in the coast, and the Bedouin tribes in Deir Zor, including my great uncle, who was one of the leaders of the revolution in Syria against French occupation. So what the Americans have done over the last 15 years is, on the one hand, destroy Deir Zor and the Arab tribes in the east and hand over their lands to the Kurdish invaders, occupiers, and thus destroying their capability to resist. On just since the fall of the Assad government, we saw the massacres of the Alawites and the destructions of their homes and their businesses and the killing of their doctors and engineers and so forth, to also bring them down. And the final step was to crush the Druze in the Suwaida area, so they don't rise up. And so that was the plan. And we saw the attack by the Jolani government on Suwaida. But what had happened is that the Druze actually fought back. They were ready, after seeing what happened in the coast, to fight back. And they defeated the invading Wahhabi death squads. There's at least something like 900 of those mercenaries killed over the last few days. And this is where the US and Israel have a backup plan. If Jolani cannot govern, and he cannot really govern the country, he cannot keep it together, then they need to make sure that whoever takes over from him, specifically if it's patriotic Syrians like the ones in Suwaida or in the coast and so forth, that they will have no government structures or institutions to be able to manage a state. So the attacks on the Ministry of Defense, the attacks on the presidential palace, the attacks on over the last 6 months on all of the other institutions of the state are designed to make sure that in the case of al-Jolani falling, which he will, he cannot govern, that nobody else can.
Okay, but Israel, okay. So what do you say to people who make the argument that the Druze community is associated with Israel? They were setting fires in Israel. They were burning, blowing stuff up in order to get Israel to respond and act. And Israel didn't respond that way when they were killing Alawites. They didn't respond that way when they were killing Christians. They are responding this way now that they're killing Druze. Are you saying that's coincidence? Oh, because it seems like they are doing this in response to the killing of the Druze ethnic community.
Yeah, so we've heard this for 15 years, that Israel is protecting Assad, okay? And that somehow these Wahhabi death squads are the ones that really are against Israel. And, since the beginning of the fall of the Assad government, since January, these Wahhabi death squads had a chance to confront the Zionist expansion of occupation and so on. It didn't happen. So this is a repeated propaganda point to distract from the reality that the HTS government is delivering on a plan A, plan B, plan C. They can change those plans depending on what the West and the Zionists think they can achieve. But we have indicators, clear evidence that the Druze population in Syria, number one, have come out, the leadership of the Druze sect over the last 48 hours, multiple times, statements that are written, statements that are recorded and broadcasted saying they do not want the help of the Zionists and they are the enemy. Their number one enemy is the Zionists, okay? And they will not work with the Wahhabi despots either. And we also saw the Syrian Druze population inside the occupied Golan Heights break through the quote-unquote border fence,
Right.
pick up trucks and everything with machine guns and head towards Suwaida to defend their brothers and sisters and head towards Jaramana, which is the neighborhood in south of Damascus that is mainly Druze. And of those people that crossed from the occupied Golan Heights into Suwaida was one of the main leaders of the Druze sect, the Syrian Druze sect inside occupied Palestine and the Golan Heights. And he came out saying that they refuse till today, as Syrians that are occupied inside the Golan have been offered since 1967 citizenship, have refused it. They do not want, and that they will be working with their brothers and sisters to return their lands that are occupied in the Golan Heights. So those are clear indications that the Druze actually are the most patriotic in this situation.
Okay, I don't doubt that they aren't patriotic. And yes, I have seen them effectively fighting the death squads that are trying to ethnically cleanse all of these different groups, them included. But it did seem like there was some relationship between Israel and the Druze community. I don't doubt that many of the leadership will come out and say that. But are you saying that when the Druze community is setting fire in occupied Gaza, saying, hey, help our brothers out, and then Israel bombs Syria, that those things are unrelated to one another? And by the way, I'm asking because I don't understand. I'm trying to understand what's taking place. This is complicated to me.
Okay, so the Druze population inside what is now Israel is split into two parts. There's the Palestinian Druze, and those serve in the Israeli military and are part of the government.
Okay.
And they are the ones that were burning tires.
I see. Okay.
And then there's the Druze Syrians that are in the Golan Heights that have refused to take citizenship and view themselves as actually one of the main sources of the Syrian identity.
I see.
Okay? Because, there's the history, as I told you, Sultan al-Atrash, the prince of the Druze, leading the revolt against the French occupation. So there's no, they see themselves clearly differently, and they are not going to collaborate with the Zionists, and they will not allow the Wahhabi tools of imperialism to also govern, that's for sure.
Now, but the argument, okay, so are you making the argument that this is somehow beneficial to the HTS government, that they are being attacked?
No. I'm saying to you, look, the West and the Zionists brought into power al-Jolani.
Right.
But this man is an outsider to the whole of the country in terms of the majority even of the Sunnis are Sufi. Almost 90% of Sunnis in Syria are Sufi, meaning they're from the mystic sect of Sunni Islam. They're not Wahhabis. He doesn't look like them. And the government that he's bringing in doesn't, and so he doesn't represent the Druze, the Shia, the Alawis, the Christians, and the upper class, the financial elite of Aleppo and Damascus that are, liberal, as all of the upper classes in the rest of the world are. So there is no way he can govern. What they had hoped he can do is crush any resistance spirit in the Syrian people that is left. And that is why we have those mass rape campaigns, okay?
I see.
And
Okay.
these, total bloodline erasures, okay? To destroy any possibility of anybody having something in their family that reminds them of rebellion or steadfastness. So look at what they did in this HTS when they entered Sueda city, and this is why the response was, they went into the national hospital, government hospital in Sueda city, and they killed all the doctors, all the nurses, and all the patients. 350 doctors, nurses, and patients all slaughtered, okay, inside the hospital. Why would you do that? Does the hospital have anything to do with Druze rebellion? Yeah, so its issue is showing this, making sure the spirit of Syrian people is broken. This is it's the same way of seeing those Palestinian prisoners being raped. They release those videos on purpose. They want to break the spirit of Palestinian resistance. And because he's unable to govern for long, they were hoping he can achieve on breaking the spirit of the various communities inside Syria that see themselves as wells or springs of revolution. And he failed in Sueda. So if he fails in Sueda, other minorities could now get their head up and start fighting also, right? So they need to have a plan B ready. If Al-Jolani is not able to deliver on breaking the spirit of every Syrian, and there's still resistance to him and he cannot govern the territories, then they want to make sure that nobody else can govern if they take over. So if there's a revolution and Al-Jolani falls and a patriotic government comes into power, they will find that there's not even any ministries left to govern from. Okay, this is what the destruction of the Damascus over the last 2 days by Israel is about.
I see. They want to make a failed state if Jolani can't keep it together effectively. What's wild about that is Marco Rubio said exactly what you said, that he didn't think that Syria was going to be able to keep together under Jolani. I mean, he said that under Senate testimony, which is pretty astonishing when you think about it, that they helped put the guy in power. I want to read something to you that Jolani said when he gave his speech. He said, "Our people rose up in a revolution to attain freedom and met triumphant and tremendous sacrifices. The people remains fully prepared to fight for their dignity should it come under any threat." Mind you, Israel has been bombing Syria ever since Jolani has taken over, and yet he hasn't fired one shot in anger. It says, "The Israeli entity which has sought to destabilize us and sow discord among us since the fall of the former regime is once again trying to turn our sacred and into an endless arena of chaos. Through this, it aims to fracture our people, unity, and weaken our ability to continue the path for reconstruction and national revival." I'm amazed by the speech. Jolani and his dogs have been murdering ethnic, religious communities the entire time that they've been there. And he's using this term of we. Some of these people are Chechen, some of these people are Uyghurs, some of these people are, it's like from any grab bag part of the world with your motley crew terrorists came into the country, and now he's using this term of we. Give me a take on that. I mean, maybe that's not really a take thing. I'm just amazed by the speech. How do Syrians view this? Like, when they hear him give that speech, and he's saying stuff like this, when they know, okay, you've been murdering us, you've been sending your death squads to go kill all of these different groups, you've been waging these wars. What do they think in Syria about what he's saying in this speech?
The fall of the Assad government basically was the last fig leaf that was covering the collaboration of these Wahhabi, this cause, and or the power of their propaganda. So, as you mentioned, since the minute Assad fell, the government, the Israelis have been attacking almost on a daily basis. And, we were told for a decade that Israel protects Assad. Okay, that Assad is collaborating. This is the propaganda that the Wahhabis were pumping in Al Jazeera and Al Arabiya and all of those Gulf television stations. And so everybody just now understands. There's no need actually for somebody to remind people of the statements of President Assad or the resistance here about that these Wahhabis are going to collaborate with the Zionists and that the country is going to be destroyed at their hands. And the other thing is that, of course, Al-Julani not only destroyed with his war much of the structures of the state in Syria, but since the fall of Assad, they have targeted all the soldiers and officers that worked in the air defense systems of Syria. So either they were killed or disappeared. And then the Israelis came and destroyed much of the air defense systems in that 24 hours largest ever air raid campaign by Israel. And now the country has no air defense systems, and all because of Al-Julani. And now he's talking about Israel trying to break up the country. It's very stupid, obviously,
Orwellian. It's such a bizarre speech. It's like, dude,
he's been calling the Shia heretics, the Shia and the Christians and the Druze and the Alawis. They've been calling them heretics for more than a decade. Now we're talking about our minorities, our Druze brothers.
That's such a bizarre speech. I don't even live there, and I know that's a bizarre speech. And I'm like, how do you have kill squads literally murdering in mass ethnic minorities? You don't fire a shot in anger against the Israelis, meaning at no point do you go after the Israelis at all. And yet, when they bomb you, then all of a sudden you make the speech as if you're talking to a president, talking to a country that's united around you. That is so bizarre. It's just such a bizarre speech. I mean, it gets weirder, like the further you go into the speech, but it's no point in me reading the entirety of that part. So I guess from here on out, what is your expectation here? That Syria falls, it turns into somewhat of a failed state. I would imagine Israel takes a larger share of it, further balkanizing it. Or do you see something else taking place?
I have much more hope because of the history of Syria. And it's clear, Al-Julani will not be able to govern for much longer. And the Israelis have huge delusions about occupying the south of Syria or getting to Suwaida, basically all the way to the Iraqi border,
right?
Which would be a territory, almost 2/3 the size of Palestine, right? So, and the Israeli military is exhausted, overstretched, collapsing, all its seasoned soldiers dead or maimed. We can see how they're unable to occupy Gaza, and they're still fighting there. So you could imagine them trying to stretch into the south of Syria, and what would that mean to them? So they can have a lot of illusions about, and dreams. I mean, when you're a supremacist, you think you can do anything. And in fact, it would be better if they try to invade further and try to reach Suwaida. They'll be a much easier target. There'll be many more dead. And as we are, this rebellion in Suwaida, lasts long, it will, over the next few months, we will see the Druze in Suwaida try to reach Jermana neighborhood in Damascus to protect the rest of the Druze there. And that will mean more parts of the country fall out of Al-Julani's hold. And that will also trigger resistance in the coast again, as the Wahhabi squads are trying to fight in the south. and who knows what's going to happen in the resort. So I see a future that is where a revolution in Syria is more likely, and a patriotic revolution is more likely than breakup of the country as the U.S. wants it to happen.
Do you see the Druze or some of these other communities and them pushing back, kind of like an immune system? Like if you have a, let's say like a transplant, if you have an immune system response from, I don't know, you catch a cold, your immune system pops up, it starts looking around and saying, hey, what else is there? Oh, there's an organ, let me go after it. It shouldn't be here. Do you see something like that happening with Israel, where you have this response that are coming in from the minority communities, let's say specifically, in this case, the Druze? I saw that speech that you were referring to where the guy said, would they blame Israel, Zionists, for allowing Jelani to take Syria over and take down Assad? Do you see them going after Israel at some point? I mean, Jelani and his dogs aren't going to do it, but do you see some of the more patriotic Syrians in their pushback against Jelani's government also going after the Zionists?
Well, you see, this is where the delusions of the Zionists are going to lead them into huge pitfalls. And one of those pitfalls is that they broke the border themselves between the occupied Golan Heights and occupied further more territory in the foothills of the Golan Heights and the Qalamun mountain range, all the way almost to Damascus. And they were trying to push towards Suwaida. And these are all, which now allowed the Syrians that were hostage since 1967 inside the Golan Heights, cut off from their extended families, to also breach the border and for the first time have family reunions. And as you saw that video of the leader of the Syrian Druze in the Golan Heights, talk about attack on Syria and by Israel and where we at, because of this. And this means right now also that there is a porous border, right? And if there's all this militancy for decades, that hasn't been crushed inside the Druze population in the Golan Heights, and now have an extended space to move in South Syria, where there is weapons littering the whole landscape that you can just pick up almost, they're selling you at the kilo price, basically, weapons. So for sure, there will be ramifications of more militancy spilling into the Golan Heights. The other thing is that the Zionists and the Americans have spoken right now about reunification of Syria so many times, including the envoy of Trump, Barak, when he was trying to threaten Lebanon. He was like, oh, well, Lebanon is just the tourist destination of Syria, or the tourism district of Syria, and that Sykes-Picot was wrong to. So they are allowing right now a space to return to unification movements like the Syrian National Social Party and others. So I think now people can imagine possibilities of unification of Syria under anti-colonial terms. And of course, what that would mean to Palestine is a big thing.
Well, what does that mean for Palestine?
Syria was the strongest Arabic army and was managed to survive all those plots. Now imagine it with Lebanon and its economy to it, and who knows what's going to happen in Iraq if these things.
Oh, I see.
Look, you see the space of erasing Sykes-Picot that started with the U.S. actually normalizing ISIS, the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. And we saw ISIS, erase the Sykes-Picot border.
Yes.
And you know what? If Iran and the Syrian military and Hezbollah didn't fight ISIS and defeat them, the U.S. would have been fine with them creating a new state, just like they were fine with al-Jolani, who was the second in command of ISIS, governing from Damascus.
Right.
It's fine for them to erase the Sykes-Picot border as long as it's beneficial to them. And so, but now where 20 years of this American-led destruction of Cyprus coast borders. Now there's almost no more states in Iraq and Syria. There's really no states in Iraq and Syria, and things are wide open. The field is wide open, and the reality is that you can unify those countries now because there's no existing central state that can fight you back if you want to do that.
Interesting. Very interesting. Laith, you are fantastic. I love your breakdowns. I totally misunderstood when I initially thought you meant that this was somehow beneficial to HTS. That's not really what you're saying. You were pointing out of saying if HTS can't keep it together, then the US is perfectly fine with having a failed state. But as you point out, you're far more optimistic about it because they think that this is going to be a failed state, where I think you think that ultimately these groups are going to come together and you may get a revolutionary Syria as opposed to Syria that implodes and gets balkanized. I think I got that right. I just want to, before I let you go, I want to make sure I understood.
Yes, for sure. And look, you know, last week this Barak was threatening Lebanon with HTS.
Yes.
Today, HTS is clearly have been clipped. It cannot fight even the Druze in a remote area of Syria. How can it fight Hezbollah? And in fact, all of what we saw of massacres in the coast, that now massacres of Druze, have radicalized a huge swath of the population, including the Druze here in Lebanon. Yesterday, Lebanese people, Druze Lebanese, carried arms openly and were at the border trying to cross. They had fist fights with the Lebanese military. Okay, so this is a population, the Druze population in Lebanon haven't been involved in fighting since the year 2000 maybe. Okay, there's no been armed militias there. Now there is. It's clearly radicalizing people the opposite way that the US wants. Instead of putting fear into people, mind here, it's actually telling people that you either carry arms and survive or you're dead. I'm going to send the HTS on you to rape you and your family. Okay, so this similarly happened in the Christian population. Right now, it's happening in the Christian population that people are starting to form militias. Any dormant militias are being activated. Everybody's ready to fight to protect themselves from HTS and the possibilities of also Israel attacking. So everything that Israel and the US is doing in hopes of destroying the spirit of resistance in the region is actually reconfirming in everybody's mind that if you do not resist, you're going to be raped live on television. Nobody's going to come and help you.
Basically, take your protection into your own hands, or else. Laith, man, thank you for this great breakdown. I like I said, I was confused when I saw this. I wasn't sure what to think of this. Israel, help these guys get in power. Jelani has been bending over backwards, trying to kiss his ass like nobody's business, and yet we're still being bumped. No, I appreciate this, man. Laith Marouf, he's an award-winning multimedia producer and media policy consultant. You can find Laith at Free Palestine TV, or you can find him at freepalestine.video. Either one of those. Free Palestine TV is on Twitter, freepalestine.video. You can find him online. Laith, thank you for this, man. You be safe, okay?
See you soon.
Have a good one. All right. Yeah, I'm going to have to change the title of that video, of the top part, of the thumbnail. I grotesquely misunderstood that. But, I mean, the wild part, we all knew that when Assad fell, that what they were going to end up doing was exactly what they're doing now, killing these minority communities. And they were going to go from place to place to place in order to create their caliphate. I'm also glad that he broke down the difference, because again, I was confused by it. In one sense, I saw a video where one of the leaders of the Druze community was like, we blame the United States and Israel for putting Jelani in power and effectively having his dogs come through and kill our communities. In another sense, you'd see Druze setting stuff on fire in the occupied Palestine and effectively demanding that Netanyahu get involved. And it's like, okay, what is going on here? What is going on here? What are these different components of the same thing that seems to be seeing Israel as a savior in one sense and Israel as a culprit in another? And either way you look at it, Israel still is a bombing city. Now, from the standpoint of the Druze in Palestine, I would imagine they look at it and say, hey, this is great. Maybe the Druze that are Syrian, who knows what's on their mind at that point? I mean, from their standpoint, I would imagine Jelani is a dog, an animal that is murdering their people. Anything that kills them is fair game, even if it's coming from a Zionist enemy. It's complicated. It's very complicated. Shout out to Laith for the explanation. You have my deepest appreciation. I'm waiting on Ted Rall. Let me make sure I didn't screw up and not send Ted. Because again, I'm flawed. I'm just a man. Okay. It's still joining. Come on. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. Yes, I need a producer. When I can afford one, I will get one. But until then, I will be doing this stuff manually. I want to show a clip on something. I would like to show a clip. This is Trump. And I'm going to go to the Epstein thing for a bit because this is the funniest thing in the world to me. Donald Trump is now disavowing his own supporters. He is now disavowing his own supporters because of Epstein. I am actually serious. Now, keep in mind, many of the people who were in Donald Trump's administration were the ones that were pushing heavily on the Epstein thing. Democrats are pedophiles, they're protecting Epstein, blah, 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 blah. Now, again, it was Acosta who Donald Trump's team hired, who said Epstein was intel. He's above my pay grade, effectively give him the sweetheart deal. That sweetheart deal where he didn't even tell the victims that he was giving Epstein that sweetheart deal. So there's that. But Acosta was very clear. Epstein is intelligence. He's above our pay grade. Effectively cut him loose. All right. So Ghislaine Maxwell is on camera effectively saying, yes, I would expose what I know about this. Now, who knows what Maxwell is going to say? But they're not going to let her say anything. At least I don't think they are. Here is Trump when asked about his supporters, because as you can imagine, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, people are burning Trump hats for very obvious reason, though. I mean, we shouldn't take this subtle, like this is a significant deal. A man who has raped hundreds, let's say, let's lowball it, hundreds of children, and has fed those children to other grown men to rape. And Epstein, being part of Intel, uses the fact that other grown men are raping kids as a way of using and getting compromising information on those grown men. That's what we're talking about. So if Donald Trump is now saying, there's nothing to see here, folks, Epstein, what's Epstein? Who's Epstein? There is no Epstein. There's not even a jail. There's not even a jail that Epstein was in. Who's Pam Bondi? I don't even know who Pam Bondi is. If that's where you are now, that's a hell of a fall. And your supporters can see you clearly on this issue, on some other political issue where you are talking about something that's Democrat, Republican. Okay, they will give you the benefit of the doubt on that, even though they shouldn't. But they would give you the benefit of the doubt on that because that is a partisan issue. This is not partisan. This is about raping kids. And because this is about raping kids, everything that you say that tries to wiggle, move, dodge, duck, pretend as if it's not there, or be manipulative. And yes, being manipulative is saying, I don't even know why people are talking about this. I don't know why this is still an issue. Fuck. God damn it. Okay, I'm gonna have to deal with that. I don't even know why people are talking about this. I don't even know why this is an issue that people are bringing up. I mean, this is the guy who never dies. Now, what's wild about this also is that Donald Trump was friends with Epstein for decades. So the notion that he is making this case and making this argument of there's nothing to see here, folks, I don't even know why people are bringing on Epstein, is outrageous. His supporters knows it's outrageous, which is why it doesn't fly. It doesn't fly. This is Trump trying to put this, listen to what he says here. This is very manipulative, by the way, where he's going after his own supporters for bringing this up. And I want to bring up a radio show that Donald Trump himself invokes Epstein. This is not working. The story is not dying. The public is not letting it go. His own supporters are not letting it go. Good luck on trying to let go and protect child rapists. That doesn't fly. That's not a political issue. That's a human issue.
This morning, you mentioned past supporters when you were talking about the Epstein issue. Does that mean that you're effectively disowning any supporters who are now?
I lost a lot of faith in certain people. Yeah, I lost because they got duped by the Democrats. The Democrats are good for nothing. They've done a terrible job. They almost destroyed our country. If I didn't get elected, all these numbers you're hearing about, they found $25 billion and another 25 is coming in and hundreds of billions of dollars is pouring into our country. And we just got the biggest tax cut in history. We just got the biggest regulation cuts in history. There'll be no tax on tips. There'll be no tax on Social Security. There'll be no tax on overtime. There'll be no tax on so many other things. You're allowed to deduct your interest from a car payment. That's never happened before. You borrow interest. You borrow money to buy a car if the car is made in America. And by the way, factories are being built all over America, car factories, AI factories, but you get a deduction on your interest. Nobody ever thought of that before. It never happened before. And, you know, these are the things that they should be talking about. The big, beautiful bill is one of the greatest pieces of legislation ever in this country. And the Democrats have nothing to combat it. So they say, oh, it's death. Oh, that's good. And then they give it to the fake news, which is you and a few others. And the fake news talks about the bill is death. The bill is actually life. The bill is life, and it saves our country. This bill is incredible. Look.
So right off the bat, Trump immediately peddling bullshit, spear Donald Trump peddling bullshit. They ask you about Epstein, and you're telling us about a bill. For one, the amount of money for the no tax on tip stuff is cut at a certain amount, and it's a very low amount. So most people are not even going to be able to experience that amount. That amount. The people who are on the low end of the economic scale, their taxes are going up because they're going to lose benefits. The people who are on the high end of the economic scale, they're going to see a boon in the amount of money that they're effectively bringing in. Donald Trump is so full of shit, it's astonishing. The question is about Epstein and saying that you're effectively disowning elements of your base because they care about, you know, pedophilia on a massive fucking scale is outrageous. That doesn't say anything about them. That says more about you. It is a good thing that MAGA looks at this and say, hey, why is Trump acting like this? And the fact of the matter is, if you look at Alex Jones is a fantastic bellwether. Because what that means is that Alex Jones has a lot of his supporters, and Alex Jones believes, as a YouTuber who is crowd surfing, that there is no leeway on this issue. That his base, under no circumstances, would accept Alex Jones deviating or pulling back or not going after Trump on this specific issue. Because again, what you're talking about are pedophiles. Men who fuck kids or men who try to fuck kids. That's what you're talking about. And either you're okay with pedophiles or you're not. And in Trump's case, it seems like he is okay with an apex pedophile that Donald Trump has known for decades. For decades. And by the way, if you look back at an old interview for Donald Trump made the point of saying, yeah, Epstein, great guy. He likes women. He likes them young. So let's not pretend as if he wasn't aware of Epstein's predilections, even at a younger age. Let's not pretend. Trump goes onto a radio program Because again, this is an issue and he's trying to bury this and he hasn't found the language in order to bury this particular issue yet. And it is obviously on his mind. He is being eaten alive on this issue. This is Trump on a radio program.
Look at all of it.
Let's see if this one works. Does this help?
For all the things that have happened, there's the Russia collusion against you. There is Jack Smith against you. There's all the things that happened in 2020, not investigating China interference in the 2020 election. Where do you think, what are the things that are most important that you would like to see the FBI get to the bottom of?
I think they could look at all of it. It's all the same scam. They could look at this Jeffrey Epstein hoax also, because that's the same stuff. That's all put out by Democrats.
Yeah.
And, some of the naive Republicans fall right into line like they always do. They just don't have the sustainability. They don't have they don't have that stick to it like glue. The Democrats, they have bad policy. They have bad candidates. They have bad everything, but they stick together. The Republicans don't do that, but they ought to look into the Jeffrey Epstein hoax too, because that's another hoax that's frankly put out by the pushing the Republicans and put out.
He is literally now arguing that Epstein is a Democratic hoax put out by Obama, Comey, and Hillary Clinton on the same level as Russiagate. That's what he's arguing. And of course, his supporters, even the ones that are in a cult, looks at this and says, bullshit. They look at it and say, bullshit. And thank God there is levels of depravity to which they're not willing to go. And this is one of them. It is outrageous that Donald Trump has taken this perspective. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Pam Bondi, Trump himself, Trump's kid, all of these people were, before they got into office, were talking about the Epstein files and talking about releasing these files. And then conspicuously, they don't. The video that they put out with the jail cell saying, hey, here's hours of footage of the jail cell. Okay, for one, they realized that there's several minutes of that missing. B, that it was stitched together, I think with Adobe Premiere or something to that effect, but some kind of image program that they stitched it together. So the program that they're using to try to demonstrate that there's nothing to see here, folks. And by the way, that wouldn't demonstrate anything to anybody. You can get random footage from anywhere and show people and say, hey, here's the footage for so-and-so. But even the footage that they've given is stitched together and is still missing, I think, 3 or 4 minutes. This issue is not going anywhere. This is not like the Kennedy assassination, something that took place 60 years ago. This is many of the elements of your own administration that made this a huge deal, a huge issue. And now you're trying to tell people there's nothing to see here, folks. And I think what it really boils down to, and why this is so damaging for Donald Trump, is because A, everybody and their mama knows that you were close friends and associates with Epstein for decades, and B, that they believe your name is on the list, which is why they believe you're not releasing it. That's not good. That's not good. That's all I'm saying. It's not good. It's not good. And no, I don't believe for a moment that issue is going anywhere. That issue is going to stick with Donald Trump like glue. And up to this point, he has not found the language in order to get rid of it. And claiming that this is a hoax by Obama and Comey, and that Republicans are just stupid idiots for falling in line for it. And I'm against my supporters now because my supporters care about grown men having sex with children. I'm just, I don't know why they're falling for this stuff. How does that even sound? It's as if the context is just fundamentally missing out of it in the argument that Donald Trump is making. Let's be very plain. Let's be very brutal when we talk about it. A man was fucking kids. That's what we're talking about. A grown man fucking children and feeding those children to other grown men to fuck those kids, and doing so at the level of maybe hundreds. Let's lowball it. Let's say it was 20. Let's lowball it. Let's say it was 20. Let's say it was 20 kids. And then videotaping other grown men fuck those 20 kids. I'm being blunt because I want to make it very clear what we're talking about. Let's stop using euphemisms. We're talking about this stuff. And in doing so, using it for intelligence, most likely Mossad or potentially the CIA, but definitely using it for intelligence in order to get compromising information on various people who are movers and shakers, either in politics, entertainment, finance, etc. They don't even know how Epstein made his money in the first place. And yet he's this gadfly who has all of these connections all throughout Hollywood, all throughout finance, all throughout the political space. That's weird. That's very strange. If he was indeed part of Intel, and if indeed he was being used by Intel in order to get compromising information on these various people, and if indeed there is a book, a file, some information with a lot of other people who were associated with Epstein, Trump ultimately is protecting those people. And in the process of protecting those people is damaging himself in the process. What's wild about it is, of all the betrayals, whether it was the Ukraine war and not ending that war, whether it was, I don't know, the I'm going to end wars, not start wars, and you end up bombing Yemen, bombing Iran, all of these things were fundamental and complete betrayals. This might be the one, oddly enough, that sticks the most because of what it is and what it's about and what it means. And the fact that he's willing to throw his body in order to protect pedophiles will sting. If you're somebody who voted for Donald Trump and you believe that there is something to the Epstein files in regards to what Epstein was doing and how he was being used by Intel, and you see Donald Trump doing everything in his power to effectively protect that same Epstein, what does it say to you about that vote? How did that vote make you feel after all of that? And again, that's not even getting to the other betrayals. The big, beautiful bill when Donald Trump was talking about Doge and how Doge was going to cut expenses. And then he passes a bill that adds trillions of dollars to the deficit. Okay, again, all of these things are fundamental and complete betrayals. I accept Alex Craner and his point of view. I totally appreciate him coming on the show, and I totally appreciate him giving an alternate take on this. But I don't think it's five-dimensional chess. I think it is what it is. It's WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. And what, we're 6 months in? Just 6 months in? Buckle up. Buckle up. I don't believe for a moment the story is going anywhere. Donald Trump is going to have to continuously answer for this. He's going to get more annoyed over and over and over again every time this issue comes up, and he has to answer for it over and over and over again. His responses are getting more harebrained, more ludicrous, more absurd. And the more absurd they get, the more it comes across as if he is hiding something. And the question that the audience is going to ask is, what are you hiding and why? That is a damning question, especially if you don't have an answer for that question short of Comey, Obama, Clinton, Russia, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, dude, are you going to release the files or not? Oh, that's nice. Are you going to release the files or not? And of course, at this point, the answer is not. And at this point, the answer is not. So my guest is here. Excellent. Let me bring her on. I am joined. Come on. There we are. I'm joined with the one, the only, the beautiful, the great channel. Why are you laughing at that?
Because you're come up, having trouble pulling.
Sarah Bils. Sarah Bils is host of DD. Well, she's a Navy veteran and current editor for DD Geopolitics. She tends to be a gadfly on Twitter. I see you sometimes when you go into your Twitter Spaces. How you doing, Sarah? You doing okay?
Good. I've kept to my word. I'm on my Twitter break, so you probably
are you
Spaces very much, but I'm on a Twitter cleanse. It's glorious.
How long have you been? How long have you been on your Twitter break?
A week? I think since my birthday. Yeah, so a week.
I would off myself. I
got in, but it's a lot. I can't feel like it's a lot of noise, but there's so much news going on.
Yeah.
And it's also controversial that I'm glad that
What is the most controversial story that you?
It's the
And you're right,
Syria
it is a
stuff
lot of
in
noise.
my spheres. It's the Syria stuff, honestly. This Syria
So
sort
I
of
just had this
breakdown.
conversation with Laith about it,
Oh,
and I
good.
want to
He's
get your
great.
take on it too. So this is, I showed this video before. I'll show it one more time. This is the bombing of Damascus. I mean, effectively bombing the presidential palace,
Yeah.
bombing the defense ministry. And by the way, if you remember, I think it was last year where I forgot what happened, and Israel ends up bombing across the street from Jelani's house or something, almost like a warning.
I
like, hey,
remember that.
don't F around.
Yes.
And now this.
يا شباب قصف جديد قصف جديد يا شباب قصف جديد مبنى
Yeah.
هتلر قصف جديد يا شباب قصف خذونا بسرعة 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 بسرعة
I don't know what is he saying.
قصف ثاني دمروه نعم قصف
Can you imagine you're drinking a coffee driving by and that happens?
Thought we were friends. I thought Israel and Syria were friends.
They're supposed to be buddies, right? Jelani bent over backwards. He was supposed to be part of the Abraham Accords. He, did any and everything in his power to say, hey, man, what do you need from us? Hey, if you let us get air defense, we'll even knock down missiles from Iran, if that's what you need us to do. We'll stop these quote-unquote terror networks from giving arms and supplies to Hezbollah. Just tell us what you need. Just tell us what you need. Look at that. Look at that. Give me your take on that.
I feel bad. I don't want to do
the
whole. I am a Jolani hater, and I don't want Jolani to fall. I think it's disastrous. I do understand why it's going on, even though I don't agree. I thought it was wild that they were bombing the presidential palace. I thought that was a huge escalation. I didn't really know what had justified that. And then I looked into it and I still don't really believe that justified it. I feel like it was I thought it was quite blown out of proportion. Sorry for the pun, but I thought it was quite blown out of proportion for the reaction. But I mean, that's characteristic of Israel.
Right.
I don't know where the breakdown was. I mean, we know about the Druze fighting in the south, but that shouldn't trigger a response of that nature. I'm just not sure. Maybe you have some more insights, or Laith has some. I mean,
so Laith's take. I half believe Laith and half don't on this one. But no, I don't say that negatively. I disagree with my guests all the time. Like, it's just my nature, right? Laith's thing is that they believe, meaning the United States, that Jelani is not going to be able to maintain control over Syria.
And I kind of thought that.
And Rubio said as much, right? That in the Senate committee that he wasn't going to be able to maintain control over Syria. And so they thought in the meantime that Jelani would be able to go through and break, let's say, these elements of potential Syrian resistance, like the face of Syria, these groups.
The Alawites, the Christians.
Well, the Alawites, the Christians, in this case, the Druze that just so happen to be part of it. Like anything that would potentially have a revolutionary nationalistic spirit that could create a resurgence in Syria, that Jelani would go through and break those elements. And his dogs were doing that. I mean, these people are just maniacs. But his thing is, if it falls, though, then they want it to be a failed state. And so by bombing the governmental buildings, by bombing any notion of Syria's ability to protect itself, whether it's air defense, because, after Syria fell, Israel went through on a bombing campaign day after day after day, just destroying all weapons, all stockpiles, all everything. And so the only weapons they have at their disposal are small arms. And so Laith's thing is they are trying to destroy any notion of Syria being able to resurge or come back to life if indeed Jelani falls. Effectively, it ends up being a failed state. The other point of view is that the Druze community in Syria, in Palestine, was setting shit on fire. They were blocking roads. They were screaming like loud as possible, like do something, do something. Israel apparently opens up the gate for the Golan Heights. The Druze go streaming into the various areas to try to protect those areas. Israel goes on a bombing spree in this kind of maximum force type thing that they typically do. Now, it's weird to me, and I didn't understand it, because in one sense, you would have some Druze, the leadership saying, we blame the United States and Israel for allowing that dog to get into office. And then in another sense, you have them setting stuff on fire, saying, hey, go protect us. And it's like, okay, what is going on? What the hell is happening? The way Laith explains it is that there are two different sects. You have one that are belonging to Syria, which is more revolutionary in the way they look at the stuff. And the other one is serving in the Israeli military, is part of the Israeli government, part of Israel. And these two things, even though both of them are part of the same religious sect, have very different political priorities. But both of those political priorities end up being, hey, you need to protect your own from these dogs that are killing us. It's complicated. Like it really, like I saw that and I didn't know what to think. I was like, what the hell just happened?
Well, I think that's important, though, is for people, especially in this region, to understand the border, the kind of nationalism that crosses borders. And I think that is that's sort of understand. Well, actually, you know what? I think the borders are drawn strategically in a way so they cut people into pieces in these tribes. But then you also have the Lebanese Druze who have a different set of opinions. But they're coming in, they're trying to come in through their borders, and the Lebanese army are stopping them. And then you have split factions inside of Syria. That we had one faction accept a ceasefire and the other faction say, we're fighting. So the the Druze get very, very complicated. They're very tribalistic. So there's a lot of familial grudges and whatnot. And so it's very, I don't want to say archaic because they're not an archaic people, but the culture or the society or maybe the relationships are they're almost like the Balkans in the sense that they're very old fashioned, very sort of barbaric in a way. So they're very tribal, but when it comes to a kind of fellowship, they do all band together, which is kind of how it's supposed to be in the end. But I do agree with Laith in the sense that they don't want Syria to rise up and they want it to be a failed state. What they really want, and I think you and I have talked about it actually, is they want Syria to be a buffer state. These dogs that you keep calling them dogs, the Jolani
dogs. These guys are animals.
They are dogs. The dogs that are running around and hurting all of these minorities. They want to use them as regional force to subdue Hezbollah, and then to use it as a buffer and a cudgel against Iran, and then possibly into the Caucasus if they need them to. So yes, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of we don't really care about Jolani. He's quite disposable. There's nothing that says Jolani is who he is. Like we could pick anybody and make them do this job. I think that has a lot to do with it. He's really lacking in leadership quality. He can't get the people together. Even I'm not even talking about the civilians. He can't even get his dogs, his dogs together. You know, it's total chaos. And I feel like that's where they're at. They have a plan. The United States and Israel have a plan, and it's got a kind of a sort of timeline, though it's not, ironclad. And this stuff in Syria is too messy and it's taking too long. And they told Jarrah not too long ago to get your act together. We need to use your dogs. I'm just going to call them that from now on. We need to use your guys as a regional army, and he can't get it together. So I think that they're like, we don't really need this guy.
I guess they don't. I mean, but there's so many different sects of HTS.
I know.
And I don't know how you corral all of these people. The speech that he gave is mind-blowing. I don't know if you heard the speech that he gave after the bombing.
It was late last night. I don't think I heard it. What? Can you give a...
Okay, yeah. So let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Okay. Listen to this. Now, again, his goons, dogs, whatever you want to call these animals, have been going through murdering en masse ethnic minorities all throughout Syria. Like this has been their mission. They want to create their caliphate. He says, our people rose up in a revolution to attain their freedom in triumphant offering tremendous sacrifices. The people remain fully prepared to fight for their dignity should it come under any threat. The Israeli entity, which has always sought to destabilize us and sow discord among us since the fall of the former regime, is once again trying to turn our sacred land into an endless arena of chaos. Through this, it aims to fracture our unity, weaken our ability to continue on the path of reconstruction and national revival. The entity never ceases to use its every method to plant conflict and division, forgetting that Syrians, with their long history, has always rejected disunity and partition. Ain't that some shit? Like, you have been literally murdering. Said it again? I'm sorry.
He wanted normalization. He was like
Yes.
on the brink of normalization, and now they're, what did he call them? The entity.
The entity. The Israeli entity.
Cool now. You don't get to be cool after you were negotiating with them.
And he still wants unity.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, I'll give you another one. You're going to love this. So Marco Rubio and Donald Trump were sitting in the meeting. Where is the clip? Don't tell me I got it. Right here. Right here. I think this is it. Yeah. So Marco Rubio, Trump are sitting in the meeting. Listen to the way Rubio describes this. And think of what he leaves out of this conversation. But they ask him, hey, Israel is bombing your client. Like, you just got rid of sanctions. You're trying to have the Abraham Accords. And Israel is bombing the shit out of the ministry buildings. The presidential palace, no less.
Yeah.
Potentially the president is in it. But they're bombing the shit out of the building. One of my subscribers pointed out that Ben Gvir said Jelani needs to die, that they need to take his head. And
Oh, yes, they did. He called them the head of the snake. I don't know how many heads this snake has. It's got Iran as a head, Hezbollah has a head. It's like a 30-head snake. So now Jolani is the head of the snake. And yes, Ben Gvir did come out yesterday and say we must cut the head off of the snake that is Jolani, and we must protect the Druze.
Wow, that's amazing to me. This is Trump, or let's say Rubio, because Trump probably can't even spell Druze.
Yeah, it's complicated. Obviously, these are historic, long-time rivalries between different groups in the south west of Syria, Bedouins, the Druze community, and it led to an unfortunate situation and a misunderstanding, it looks like, between the Israeli side and the Syrian side. So we've been engaged with them all morning long and all night long with both sides, and we think we're on our way towards a real de-escalation and then hopefully get back on track.
Misunderstanding? I mean, dude, where's that clip? Where's that clip? They're blowing up the presidential palace. How's that a misunderstanding? Like, they're literally blowing up the building that the president is supposed to be in the defense ministry. I mean, you saw that explosion, and he's like, yeah, that's a misunderstanding. And when he's
Can you believe how we've gotten here, though? Like, this is all incrementalism. That, like, I mean, we've always done it with Israel, but it's never been this blatant. And over the last 2 years, I mean, that's the incrementalism that they've, and I say they, I mean Israel in tandem with the United States, that they've kind of pushed us into. Oh my God, they're bombing the equivalent of the White House. It's a misunderstanding. Oh, you know, they're committing a genocide in Palestine. They're defending themselves. It's all these euphemistic sort of news speak, double speak, like play everything down. It's what they do with Israel, especially.
Yeah, it's like that dangerous baby. I had to kill him because, you know, he was just super dangerous. I mean, this is a misunderstanding.
Yeah, that's the White House. People need to understand that's the White House. That's Syria's White House. That was just bombed like that. Through just the middle, down the sides, the whole thing. Bombed.
Just misunderstanding. Sarah, it's just, you're overreacting. Just misunderstanding. Just misunderstanding.
Right. And this is a country that has no air defense, no weapons to speak of, nothing other than really like small and maybe some medium arms to, like you said, his dogs to break up these groups or subdue them. But other than that, they have no method of defending themselves. He's begging for air defense. Like, what is this?
This poor woman.
Oh, I know.
الاحتلال الإسرائيلي إسرائيل كاتس إن الجيش سيواصل مهاجمة قوات وزير.
She was supposed to stay there and do the news. She failed at her responsibility.
Oh dear.
She was supposed to stay there and do the news. That's what I'm saying. She was supposed to stay there.
If Israel's having a misunderstanding, I'm not doing the news. I'm leaving. I don't want to be misunderstood by Israel.
I would have preferred to leave with a bit more dignity. That's all.
She's like, oh,
Like, be like, all right, time to go. Get my coffee. Like she was like ducking out of it. Like the guy. Well, I'm clearly poking fun at her.
yeah.
The guy in Iran that time where they were bombing the television station in Iran. That guy stayed and did the
Yeah, he
news.
just sat there like,
Yep. He was like, I got stuff to do. Let me finish this up. And the woman's like, whatever. It's like, wow, that is strength. You can't beat that country. You can't beat a country doing that.
Female in
That woman.
Syria that did this in the when Assad was falling. So another female in Syria did this. She stayed, but I think she wound up getting killed. So
yeah, you know.
but yeah, the Iranian video was inspiring, very fantastic.
Yeah, that was inspiring. It's like, God, man, I want to be that guy when I grow up. I want to be able to do the news like that. It's like you're getting bombed, like literally bombed. You're like, I gotta finish this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that. I mean, I imagine Jelani is still gonna continue to bend over. And still it's like, because that's what all he's been doing the entire time. Jelani hasn't fired a shot in anger, not once. And for all of the attacks, the occupation, at no point did any of his dogs go after Israel. And yet they've been invading and expanding further and further into Syria. And so it's like, okay, so the integrity of a country that you're supposed to be in charge of is being completely and continuously eroded. And you are still like, hey man, I just want to be buds. I just want to be dudes. Can we just hang out? And Ben Gvir is like, we need to kill that guy. Hey man, I just want to hang out. I just want to be your guy. It's like, okay, dude. Like at some point, I still don't think they're going to fire a shot in anger. And despite them blowing up the presidential palace, it's not like they did anything about it.
They can't really. I mean, really, what could they do about it? Honestly, I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, what could they do about it? They have no political currency. They have no military. They have no nothing. They have a bunch of this was so predictable from the beginning. We have a ragtag band of brothers put together by Turkey and Idlib. I actually just finished this really great book about Syria. And it talks about what Turkey did in Idlib to get these people kind of ready to go, intermarrying them. Now there's all these mixed families in Idlib, these children and stuff. And these aren't like organized militias. Even in the best case scenario, they're armed terrorists that are just running around willy-nilly. That's what they utilized to overthrow Assad. Of course, you could get them to center around overthrowing Assad, but you should have known from experience, especially in Syria. We've already done this in Syria. That once the leader is weakened or falls, all of these groups form vying for power, and you just can't. And then they change names, and then they break up, and then they come back, and like so. It's just par for the course. It's just another case of the United States kind of repeating the same thing. And I don't think that in this instance they even expect a different result because they're ready to just kill the guy and move on. I don't
think they care.
No, they don't.
I really don't think they care. And that was the other thing. I got to be honest with you and give me your take on this. I thought that part of the rationale for allowing a caliphate, for lack of a better word, to take place in Syria was because nobody cares if you take down the terrorists. Like, meaning, it's one thing if you have an actual leader of a country. Okay, that's provocative. But a terrorist is a terrorist. And all things being equal, Jelani, he may shave his beard. He may, do whatever. At the end of the day, he was a head chopper. His hands are stained with the blood of people's heads that he chopped off. And so, and he's still presiding over a group. I'll go with the dog thing. So I'll stay consistent. Presiding over a group of dogs who've been going through and murdering people left and right. I just saw the hospital thing on your channel. That is grotesque. I can't even show it on YouTube. I wish I could. Where they went through the hospital and effectively murdered all of those people and they just left bodies strewn all over the place. That is what Jelani is presiding over. So if you're Israel, what does it matter if you kill him? Like, that's the part, that was the part that was confusing also. It's like, these people are animals. Do I really care? Like, it's like, okay, what animal do I vote for if Israel is murdering? Like, if one animal is attacking another animal, who do I, and no, you don't necessarily need a person to root for, But it's kind of awkward when you're looking at this like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. There's no good or bad side in this. Both of these groups are animals. One animal is bombing another animal because the animal was killing other people. All right, where do I go with that? It's very possible that part of the rationale for allowing Jelani to take over is because there's no issue with taking down Jelani. Nobody's going to cry for him.
There's
And it
also
allows
a really good story that they can curate around this, which I saw kind of coming a little bit to fruition yesterday. I don't remember who was talking to. It was Zionists or Israelis or something, but they were saying, well, we must protect the Christians. And I said, oh, hell no, you don't. No,
right
you
there.
don't.
You got to expand into Syria to protect the
We
Christians.
must protect the Christians. I said, what about the Christians inside of Israel? One. What about the Christians? They were slaughtering them from February to April. Now you woken up? Like, there's no Christians left. Like, what are you talking about?
You got to
That's
protect
the
the
narrative.
Christians.
We got to protect the. Well, I said yesterday, they said, do you understand why this is happening? I said, of course. I mean, I don't agree, but it's because of the fighting in the South and the Druze and all of that. And they're like, no, we must stop the genocide of Christians and the Alawites. I said, what the hell? The Jews start caring. But if they wrap it up in that, then it becomes this noble sort of, we're protecting the Druze, the Christians, and the Alawites from these savage Turkish dogs.
I know we're committing a genocide here.
No.
Damn it, we need to protect the
That's
Christians.
self-defense.
Right. That is, God, man. Sometimes I hate language. Sometimes I love it. Like sometimes I get a high off of when people can put words together in a way that just is kind of emancipatory, euphoric. This language I don't like. This is depressing.
No.
It's like, yeah, we're defending ourselves against that rabid baby, and we're protecting the Christians over here, so we have to expand into Syria and take more territory.
We spit on the Christians here, but we're going to protect them in Syria.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's horrible. What's another main story that you've been getting? This was, for me, there are days that are very difficult for me to find stories.
Really? Even with Trump going and crashing out so much?
But see, that's just it, though. Like, when you do a show every day for 3
you can't
hours.
Talk about him crashing out every day. It's just
it's like every day you're hitting. Like, I'll tell you this: when the war first started, when the Ukraine war first started, I had just met my ex-girlfriend, my current ex. That sounds weird. My ex. Yeah, I don't know how to say that because that sounds weird. But whatever. I had just met her. Life had gotten exciting. I had just left my wife. Well, I didn't leave her. My wife left me, but we separated. And so life had gotten very exciting. And then you added a war onto it. Mm-hmm. And it was a war that I was like, I cannot believe people are killing each other like this. And there's a huge amount of energy built into it. And that energy is there for about 2 months. And then after a while, you're like, okay.
Yeah, you let it go.
War. Yeah, there's nowhere else to go with it. It's like
you get war fatigue almost. Your body's like, I can't stay like keyed up this high about this topic. We got to stop. And I feel that way about Trump too. Like every time a post comes out, I'm like, oh my God, I don't even want to read it, let alone talk about it. But I thought yesterday's post was kind of wild, didn't you? The long one?
Which one? Yes. I saw. You mean the very long one where he says it's Obama, Clinton?
Yeah.
I'll show you the clip. I pulled the clip. This is Trump attacking his base. Is this right? Yeah. He's attacking his supporters. There's another one where he called in on a radio show and he brought it up. he brought it up. But this is so wild to me. And by the way, nobody is accepting this. Even the most cultish, with the exception of Ben Shapiro, that asshole is accepting it, that goofball. But even his hardcore supporters are like, dude, why are you a pedophile? Like, this is outrageous. This is Trump throwing his body
on the grenade. It's wild. This is wild.
Yeah.
Look at the results already. So we have 16 trillion.
This morning, you mentioned past supporters when you were talking about the Epstein issue. Does that mean that you're effectively disowning any supporters who are now?
I lost a lot of faith in certain people. Yeah, I lost because they got duped by the Democrats. The Democrats are good for nothing. They've done a terrible job. They almost destroyed our country. If I didn't get elected, all these numbers you're hearing about, they found $25 billion and another 25 is coming in and hundreds of billions of dollars is pouring into our country. And we just got the biggest tax cut in history. We just got the biggest regulation.
He is trying to argue after Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, what's her name? The very attractive woman who's press secretary, Pam Bondi, not press secretary, AG, Attorney General. He is trying to argue that, look, I know all of these people who were in my administration spent years talking about Epstein files and that the Democrats won't release them because all of them are pedophiles and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. That this is now just a Russia gate type hoax.
It's crazy.
Perpetrated by Obama, Clinton, and Comey. And they're just out to get me.
That is actually the worst move he probably could have made, honestly.
How does that work?
And he's alienating his base. You know, I'm not a MAGA. Obviously, we're not MAGA, but I do listen to MAGA. I like to know what they're talking about, and what they're thinking. And some of the staunchest people that we would make fun of because of how, how much they were willing to go into denial or cognitive dissonance for Trump have been like, I heard one the other day saying, if it comes down to burning down the government or not releasing this list and protecting pedophiles, I want to burn down the government. And I was actually really shocked that came from someone who was a very strong proponent of MAGA. This is definitely separating the wheat from the chaff, but in this instance, it's basically separating the sycophants from people that have a shred of integrity left. I mean, these podcasters have no integrity anyway. I honestly hope it's the end for them, but it does separate them from that. And he's calling podcasters. He talked to Ben Shapiro, who's always on his side no matter what, because, it's Israel. And he talked to Charlie Kirk. He called Charlie Kirk to make sure that the messaging was correct. So these people are just take sellers on online, and he's alienating the people who question him. This is a really bad sign.
Yeah.
This whole
Tucker lost it. Tucker was like, I'm not saying there should be a revolution, but damn it, if there is one, this would be a reason for it.
I mean, I was talking to someone last night about it, and I think it's the newspeak that really is the grating part. It's like the deny what your eyes have seen and just believe what I tell you. This Epstein thing, I'm not an Epstein head. Obviously, I very much care about child trafficking, but I didn't get deep in those rabbit holes. There's people that hung their entire careers on this. Not saying that they were wrong or they're victimized. I'm saying they were right. They hung their careers on this because they knew how serious it was. I mean, look at Wendy Webb. She's about to come out with a whole new blog series. And then for you to sit here and tell us, all of us, even down to the most layest of layperson, that this isn't real or it's a hoax is insulting. It's insulting and degrading, and it's just, I don't know, it's disgusting.
It's like, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in jail then?
And that's the other thing. Now we have this strange situation with Ghislaine who's saying, well, I'm going to do a tell-all if you don't give me a pardon. And I said, I don't want either of those things. Because, I mean, this could also be a sort of game that the government's playing, saying, we'll give you a pardon and you can do your tell-all, but we're going to guide the tell-all, and then it'll really be squashed. I don't want a friggin' tell-all from Ghislaine Maxwell.
It's weird. Because, Acosta came out when Acosta first locked Epstein up years ago. And Acosta was told by somebody above him that, look, he is intelligence. He's above your pay grade. Cut him loose. Mm-hmm. And so this is what Acosta was telling the Trump people when the Trump people were effectively talking to him, saying, like, why did you give a pedophile a sweetheart deal? He's intelligent. I was told him to cut him loose. Okay, so right off the bat, Donald Trump knows, and his team knows, that even his own people who are doing, let's say, quote unquote, due diligence, acknowledge the man is intelligence. Okay, so then the catch becomes, okay, what intelligence? Mossad, what? And intelligence in what sense? Okay, well, what is his defining characteristic? He's a pedophile. And so it's like the idea that Donald Trump is like, Epstein, what Epstein? Who's Epstein? I don't even know Epstein exists. There is no such thing as Epstein. It's like, dude, you were friends with the guy for like 20 years. So why are we pretending now as if you're blissfully unaware, like there is no spoon? You were friends with the guy. Mm-hmm. This isn't working. I don't know if anybody's helping Trump with messaging. I don't know if somebody's trying to give him some way to work his way through. Saying Comey Obama doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
They said they were gonna. Then they said, "Oh, we'll investigate Comey and Brennan or whatever his name is," and it's like, what?
Really? Yeah, really.
For what? What are you good? What is that? What is that going to? And and this is the erosion of trust. I don't know that Trump cares. I think he knows, but I don't know that he cares. Once you lose, I mean, really, what does the dollar rest on? Our faith and trust in the government. What does the military rest on? Our faith and trust in the government. We have no faith and trust in the government. This is anarchy.
But it's been anarchy for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be honest,
yeah, it's literally anarchy.
I mean, rules-based order isn't just anarchy. It's law of the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. They just give it a newspeak name to it. Hey, let's call law of the jungle rules-based order. That's what we're going to call it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is, right? Like,
I mean, this happened with COVID. It started with COVID, this sort of erosion in the trust of the government. I mean, this is the thing about Trump is he does a lot of this cutting off your nose to spite your face. He's the one who started the fake news thing, which has kind of snowballed into a general distrust of everything.
Yeah.
And then the government, and now we're going to this end, and he's going absolutely balls to the wall and saying, I'm the only truth teller here. Trust me only. And I don't know that people can do that. I think that's too far of a leap.
I mean, Donald Trump is a habitual liar. My dad used to be a habitual liar. I mean, like, I know a habitual liar.
There's people in MAGA that can justify that and say, oh, he lies for the greater good, or he lies to, help us or whatever. But at this juncture, what can you say? He's lying to protect pedophiles. He's lying.
This is not Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah.
Like where the noble lie. This is not a noble lie.
Noble.
Like with the king.
It's not going to work in this instance, especially since the cat got so far out of the bag. It was like all the way out until like the tail, and then they stuffed it back in really fast. You can't let them see the whole cat and then put it back in the bag. And that's exactly what happened. They went too far.
Nope, I didn't see any cat. No cat.
They went too far with I got the files on my desk. They went too far with the 10,000 hours of video. They just went too far with we're going to release them. We promise you, this whole wanting to appease people. And then they realized they couldn't. Like, this is this is the art of the deal.
But see, and I'm going to let you go. Trump is complicated on some of this stuff because the news media does lie. I know what you're saying, that there was a radical delegitimization of elections, news media, the medical community, all of that stuff, almost all at once.
Right.
It's like, but they do lie.
They do. But don't you think that it contributed to a much higher distrust society?
It does. No, it does. But that goes back to a noble lie, right? Do we pretend like the media is telling us the truth when it's not, just so we can have some sense of trust when the trust really shouldn't be there? Like, for example, when I'm sitting at the radio station, when I was working at the radio station, I was blown away at how much shit they got wrong. And some of the stuff just seems intentional. And you're sitting there they're like, well, Russia just attacked Ukraine for no reason. It's like, what? What are you talking about? Russia blew up its own pipeline. Why would they do that? And some of the stuff was just so comically stupid. They would say, Assad gassed his own people. And you say, and it's like, but he's taking back 80% of his territory. Why would he do that? Because he's a bad guy. So you're telling me that he's a cartoon villain? That's the reason why he's gassing his own people? Yes.
Yes.
And after a while, you're like, okay, dude.
That's flipped for me. Now I don't trust the alternative media. I mean, I have my colleagues and my friends that I obviously trust, but the labeled, the accepted alternative media, these podcasters, I'm like, I'd rather read the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing, you can read the New York Times and it may be 20 paragraphs down.
Oh, yeah, we always talk about that. It's like at the bottom.
Right. It's like at the very bottom. You're like, there it is. There it is. Or you have to kind of read around what they're saying. They're saying it.
But I like that. It makes it kind of fun, don't you think? It makes it into like a little game. It's like a crossword puzzle. The New York Times has so many games that they don't even know. It's like a little.
It's just strange.
But there's always little kernels of truth. That's why I love the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. Because they give you such great platforms to be like, I'm going to go research this little sentence that they like revealed somewhere in this random paragraph. So many of my articles come from like reading these things and be like, they missed one of the most interesting parts about this, I think. And then I go research that. But alternative media isn't even doing that. Not us. I'm talking about MAGA alternative media. They're not even doing that. It's like, I'm going to read you Trump's tweet. Okay. What does it mean? I don't know. I can't analyze anything. I'm just here to read it.
Are you telling me that they do videos just saying this is what Trump said?
Yes. All they talk about is what Trump said, the Epstein files, the Twitter drama. These people are crazy. And stay away from America. You're doing great.
We can make a living doing that. There's a guy,
We
H.A.
can't,
Goodman.
but they can.
H.A. Goodman used to be a lefty.
Oh, my Lord.
And he made his bones with Hillary Clinton emails. Every show was butter emails. And he went from, let's say, like 20,000 to like 100,000 in a very short period of time because all of these right-wingers start piling onto his show saying, oh, what does H.A. Goodman have to tell us today about Hillary Clinton? And it was just trashing Clinton. And eventually he started doing guns. He started shooting guns. Then he started, and his audience effectively pushed him so far to the right that he just became a right-winger. It was bizarre.
Fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it was weird.
I don't think my audience could ever push me politically. I feel like my colleagues could, but I don't think my audience could.
My audience couldn't do either. I would just lose them. I mean, for COVID, for example, they were completely against me on COVID. Completely. Even to this day, they said Jamal lost his fucking mind on COVID. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care what I heard.
About COVID. I was like,
yeah. They said he lost his mind on COVID. You could see him in the chat. They would start putting things. It's like, yeah, he's out of his mind on COVID. He's wrong on COVID. He's wrong on COVID. You would be surprised. Yeah. Sarah, you are fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for this. You have a good one, okay?
You guys
Sarah Bils, editor, DD Geopolitics. Check her out. They do fantastic work. Oh, by the way, have you guys started doing shows? You got. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, you want to come on? I'll text you.
Yeah, sure. I'll come on.
We'll come on Sunday. I'll text you.
Okay, I'm down.
Thanks, Jamal.
Wait, what time first? What time?
Oh, 2 p.m. Pacific. It might be a little late for you. I don't know where you're at right now, Carmen, San Diego.
Shit. All right, you got me doing math. All right, 2 p.m. Pacific is
it's noon in
what
Moscow.
Time is it ET?
Oh, 5 p.m.
Okay, so the 5. I could do it. It's 5 a.m.
I'll text you.
Okay, I'll do it. I'm down.
All right, bye. Have a good weekend, guys.
You be safe. Have a good one. Thank you for this.
We're
really
pro Jelani now.
No, we are not. No, we're not. No, we're not. All right. Sarah is fantastic. I always enjoy it when she comes on the show. Always, always, always. DD Geopolitics. They do great work, especially on Twitter. I always catch them on Twitter more than anything else, but apparently they also do shows. Check them out. She's great. She's very good. She's very, very good. I always enjoy talking to her. We have chats. Excellent. I love chats. And by the way, thank you for the chats. These shows are often demonetized. We talk about heavy things, war, death, killing. I drink coffee to people getting killed. That is some dark shit, but fair enough, I'll own it. Yeah, that's dark. I watched one of those videos. I was like, oh, that's dark. And then I thought about what I was doing. It was like, but it's fair. It's dark, but fair. Dark, but fair. Let's see. Let's go to our chats. Jabari VOC Media, lies, Drew's community, and they ain't call Israel. What? And they ain't call Israel for help. The ninjas just felt like we are African American. I can say those, Negroes felt like bombing. That's not entirely true, Jabari. I have the video where that's not entirely true. Laith will know better than either of us, I think. And either Laith admits that there are divisions within a community, some that live in Israel and some that live in, let's say, Syria. I'm telling you, there are videos of them burning shit down in Israel to try to force Israelis to get involved and to protect them. I'm telling you that earlier, when they bombed across the street from Jelani's house, that part of the reason they did that was because the Druze community was flipping out, saying, get involved, help us. Now, you could say that Israel just felt like bombing. Maybe they were looking for an excuse, right? Maybe. As Sarah said, that seems to be pretty extreme. But what if Israeli behavior has come across as being tame or subtle? What? What has Israel done that you say, hey, that was a pretty subtle thing that they did there? I am unaware. Everything that they've done have always been maximum force, maximum attacks. And let's be very honest. If Jelani falls, they can take more of Syria. So can you say that they may use Druze as an excuse? Okay, maybe. Maybe. But let's be very clear. I don't think it's a coincidence that they were bombing or burning and blocking the roads in Israel, saying, help us, help us, help us. And then Israel blows the shit out of the presidential palace. I don't think those things are unrelated to one another. Now, yes, as Laith was putting, and I can show you the video, I would have to find it, but one of the leaders from the Syrian community of Druze effectively said it is Israel's fault and the US's fault that that animal is in Syria right now, in Damascus, in charge. So obviously there is a division in regards to the community, but they were united in going after and fighting against Jelani's dogs as they were out there murdering and maiming and killing and raping. There is a video of a hospital where bodies are just lined up in the hospital. I can't show it on YouTube. It is grotesque. It's absolutely grotesque. Every room that you would go into the hospital, they apparently just went into a hospital and just murdered whoever they found in a hospital. And they just went room to room to room with bodies piled up in various rooms. It's just outrageous. Like, we put these people in power. We put these people in office. So no, I don't have any sympathy for Jelani's presidential palace getting blown up. My sympathy goes to Syria as a whole, and the people who have to live under that thug's rule. I mean, these fucking animals. Like, these are the people who are now going from place to place. Marco Rubio, when he was giving a statement, what Marco Rubio didn't say was Jelani's dogs were going through murdering Alawites, Christians, and they just got around to Druze. And Israel took the opportunity to blow them to hell, not to mention the Druze community fighting back to defend themselves against those animals. Rubio didn't bring that up, because the moment that you bring that up, you bring up the fact that you put a second in command of ISIS in charge of a country. You took off sanctions and you allowed them to go through murdering people left and right of the various religious communities, something that you knew was going to take place the moment that Assad fell, but you didn't care because what you wanted to do was get rid of Assad. Yeah, Rubio left a lot out in his response. I'm sorry. It's just, that video is rough to watch. That is a rough video to watch. Somebody is apparently going through with a video camera showing all of the dead bodies that was taking place. I told you I watch people get killed all day. It's just part of my life at this point. Shima Madhu bin Gavir is now calling for the death of Jelani. Ain't that some shit? That's after helping Jelani get in office. Well, get in office. Stealing the office from Assad. Stealing the office from Assad. Ain't that rich? Ain't that rich? Do panic? More babies. More babies. I don't know what that applies to. Auntie Anne, kids are where MAGA drew the line and stopped the pedantic transgender craze too. Shouldn't surprise anyone. Good for them. Agreed, Auntie. Agreed. There are levels of depravity that they weren't willing to stoop to. And apparently kids getting raped was a level of depravity that they weren't willing to stoop to, even for Trump. Good. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Manny Roos, can you please give retired U.S. Air Force Karen, I'm going to butcher this name, Kowalski, I could ask her. I know she's often on Judge Nat. She's probably going to tell me no, but I could ask her if I can find her contact information. Look, there have been several people that I've asked. There are a few people that I really like on Judge Nat. Not everybody, but there are a few. Some are very competent. What is the guy's name? The name just dropped from my mind all at once. Dr. Doctorow? I would love to have him on the show. He's very competent, very measured. Mr. Putin, I like the way he says it, but he's very competent, and he seems to know his stuff in a very measured, coherent way. I don't need to agree with the particular guests. I don't need to agree with their take at all. I do like coherent competence, even in the disagreement, because I could be wrong, and I know I could be wrong. He has been one of the better ones. There's another guy that's on there who's a diplomat who's extraordinarily good. I've asked him, he was very nice and politely told me no. He was very nice in his response. I mean, the problem with doing a 3-hour show is that it is very difficult. Like, if I did one show a week, okay, then you can find stuff to talk about because it's just one show. It's something happens. When you are running a constant narrative as you go through, because there's a coherent stream that goes through whatever you're talking about, and it's almost like there's a I'm trying to think of how to explain it. It's like there's a stream of thought, and there are times where the meter goes up or down, but oftentimes it doesn't go up or down in dramatic ways. When there's a war, it spikes, in which case you have something to talk about. There's something very clear you talk about. When there's news that blows up, sometimes it's even trying to find subtle news and explaining it in a way that makes sense that's interesting. That too. There's some people who are better than that than others. But I don't know. It's what it is. Great show. Laith's analysis was spot on. Doc J04. Laith is usually good with his analysis. He's usually good with his analysis. That's why I hit him up. He was one of the first people I hit up and said, Laith, I need your explanation for what the hell is happening with this. Usually Laith comes on Friday, and I asked him if he could come on today to explain it since it just happened. And he was nice enough to say yes. So shout out to him for that. And yes, his analysis is often quite good. Foment Dissident. Who was the most impactful second in command Star Trek for you? That is obviously Spock. Spock, easy, Spock. Followed up by Riker. Followed up by probably Chakotay. No. I'm trying to think on Enterprise. Who was the second in command on Enterprise? I guess it was T'Pol, but I didn't like T'Pol. Yeah, those are probably the three. Yeah, those three. Because Chakotay was actually good. I mean, he kept her, he held her down. I thought them two were going to get together at some point. I was like, Chakotay is going to rock Captain Janeway. But he ends up hitting 7 of 9, which is wilder. Yeah. Yeah, Voyager has some good episodes. Now that I think back on it, it has some good episodes. But easy, Spock. Easy. So if we were talking about a scale of 1 to 100, Spock's 100. And then Riker's down to 80, maybe 75. Hell, maybe even 70. You just can't do anything with that relationship. The relationship was so... Yeah, you just can't touch that relationship. Like, they had a friendship that was epic in scope. I mean, look, man, the hardest man on the planet, if they watch, I believe it was Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, and Spock goes into the room, gets hit with all of the radiation, and he's dying. And Captain Kirk goes at the last minute after the ship is saved, because Spock just saved hundreds of people, with his dying action. And as a Vulcan, he's keeping his shit together because he's a Vulcan. And Kirk goes and tries to get in. They wouldn't let him in. And Spock gets himself together just enough to say, you will always and have been my friend, as he breaks down and dies. Oh man, that is a killer. That is brutal. That is brutal. That is like losing a puppy. That is hardcore loss. And it makes it worse if you've was a fan of the series and you've watched the series all the way through and then watched the movies. Because there's a playfulness in the way that Kirk and Spock engage, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And that playfulness on some level gives you a window into the relationship that goes beyond just what you see on casts. You see it in the way that they engage and interact with one another. And so then when you get to this situation where this man that you've seen for all of these years just dropped dead, saving the ship. And Kirk, you experience the feelings through Kirk. Like, yeah, you have your own feelings, but what you're experiencing is a sense of loss and sadness through the captain. He is almost emoting for all of the audience in that moment. And you can get a sense of how he is feeling, even though you feel it yourself. It's wow. It's a very weird thing. It's almost like Captain Kirk is representing all of the audience in that moment as they watch Spock die. And not just the feelings that they have for Spock dying, but also the feelings for Kirk as he watches his best friend die. A man, and you're like, there's no way. Yay, way. He died. He dropped dead. You're like, whoa, they just fucking killed Spock. Kill Spock. What the? Absolutely. Like, it's brutal. It is hardcore. It is hardcore. That was a damn good show. I mean, that was a damn good movie. And having them kill Spock off was rough. That was rough. All right. I am going to end this. Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica was good too. The Expanse, the books. Okay, Brave got me into this. I'm going to give Brave a shout out. Well-dressed nerd. Brave gets a shout out for this one. I read the book series. And after you read the first book, you're hooked. You're just hooked. You're just next. And the book goes well beyond where the series stops off. Now, the last few books suck. They suck. They absolutely suck. But the book series leading up to, I don't know, maybe the first 5, oh, they're pitch perfect. It also helps for you to watch the show because the moment that you watch the show, it gives you an image in your mind of the characters. So Holden, Naomi, I believe Naomi was her name. Like, you get to see those characters almost in your mind as you're reading through the book. The Expanse is a fantastic show. Gravity is almost like a character in the show where they try to deal with real science in the way that science operates. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Avasarala, love that woman. I would make an honest woman out of that woman. I don't care if she's 80. I love her to death. Love her to death. Love her to death. Battlestar Galactica was really good. When they were doing suicide bombing in Battlestar Galactica, that was hardcore. I've never seen anything like that in TV. Like Americans, that's just, we just don't show shit like that. Well, we did in Battlestar Galactica. I did. I read all of Dune, Mystic City, all of Dune. I am a Frank Herbert. Frank Herbert is a god. Frank Herbert is a god. God Emperor Dune is my favorite. Of all the books, I think God Emperor Dune is better than Dune. But Dune in and of itself is damn good too. Like God Emperor Dune, then Dune. Great. Dune Messiah, what is the last one? Jesus, I can't think of the name of the group. It'll come to me in a moment. But the one they call the Witches, it'll come to me in a moment. For some reason, I can't think of it. That book was good too. Benny, what is the word for it? What is the word? Chapter Doom. Thank you. Chapter Doom. That was your favorite? Really? It was okay. I thought it was good. Maybe my third choice. Not Benny Hanna. It's not Benny Hanna. It's the Benny Jesuits. It's not Benny Jesuits. Benny. It'll come to me in a moment. Chapter Doom was good. It was good. They were always my favorite, by the way. My ex hated them because they thought they were manipulative. I loved them. I thought they were fantastic. I love their character. Benny Jesuits. Benny Gesserit. The word is not coming to me for some reason. Benny Jesuits. It'll come to me in a moment. Jesus, for some reason the word just fell out of my mind. No, I see the word and I can see it in my head. It'll come to me. Yes, they're fantastic because they're manipulative. It's not Benny Telex. It's not Benny Telex. Benny Jesuits. Benny. It'll come to me. I can't think of the name of the word. That's the second word is throwing me. Gesserit. Benny Gesserit. It's not Benny Gesserit, though. That's not the right. It doesn't sound right. Benny Gesserit. I'm gonna have to look the thing up just to hear the word. All right, I'm gonna end this. Oh, so it is Jesuit. Benny Jesuit. It's not Jesuits. It's Jesuit. It sounds like Jesuit. All right, I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna say like. I'm gonna say share. I'm gonna say subscribe. I want to thank all of you. Pronounce it Jesuit. Benny Jesuit. Benny Jesuit. Thank you. Thank you, Raymond. I appreciate it. Benny Jesuit. Yeah, I love them. They're part of my favorites in the book, like of all of the sects. 11 sects. That's one of my favorite sects. Especially Paul's mom. Oh, I love Paul's mom. I love her. God, I love her. I love her to death in those books. I love her to death. All right. I'm going to say like. I'm going to say share. I'm going to say subscribe. Yeah, it does sound like a clever pun for Jesuits. But see, they have a sect of Jesuits in the book. I mean, they have Jews in the book also. In chapter I was doing, if I'm not mistaken, they have a sect of Jews that left Earth. Yeah, it's weird. All right. You guys have a fantastic day. You can always support the content. PayPal, Patreon, Super Chat, Super Stickers. Thank all of you for your donations. You guys help keep the show going, considering they demonetize many of these shows. And I will see you. I need to book for tomorrow. I'll see. Right now I have Esteban, but I need to. Yeah, I'll see if I can book for tomorrow. I need to get somebody for the morning because now that I've used Laith for this evening, I don't have Laith for the morning. All right. You all have a fantastic evening. I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning, providing nothing takes place. Be safe. Be kind to the degree that you can be kind. Jamal Thomas Morning Show, episode 197. Signing off. Have a good one all.